We're good.
Fantastic. Thank you. Welcome, everybody. Today is June 14th, and this 2023, and this is a Beverly School Committee subcommittee meeting for finance and facilities. We are meeting today in a hybrid model. This is allowed per the former governor and the current governor's acts of 2021, 2022, and 2023. I'm not going to read this whole statement this evening. We don't have people online who are voting. We have a quorum here in person, and we have a lot of work to do, and we're on a compressed time schedule. So with that, I'm going to share my screen, and we do not need to take a roll call vote with any of our votes, thanks to everybody who's here in person. I have up on my screen right now, I will try to make it a little larger, tonight's agenda. And the very first item for voting is approval of last meeting's meeting minutes. I have loaded those onto my screen. I am looking for a motion to approve the meeting minutes from our last meeting.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Ms. Coelho. Do I have a second? Thank you, Mr. Manzo. Do I have any corrections? I'm looking at you, Mr. Manzo. You're usually the most meticulous with our reviews. Most fantastic. That's quite a compliment, Ms. Wilson. All right, there's a motion on the table. All those in favor of approving this set of meeting minutes? 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 4 voters this evening. That passes 4-0. Our second item on our agenda this evening are a set of budget transfers. Ms. Sherburne, would you like them in numerical order?
Sure.
Okay, our first budget transfer is item number 433. That's up on my screen right now for those of you playing along at home. Before I ask you to speak to this, Ms. Sherburne, I'm looking for a motion to accept this transfer so we can then discuss it.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Manzo. In a second.
Second.
Mr. Manzo, from now on, will you please unmute? Thank you, Ms. Coelho, for your second. All right, Ms. Sherburne, the floor is yours if you want to speak to this before I look around the room for questions.
So this transfer mainly is, obviously going from cost center to cost center. There are salary savings that we've had that could help offset the utility shortages and buildings and grounds items that we'd like to get done this year. So really, it's just, it's going from cost centers and it's going from payroll to expense lines.
All right, I'm looking around the room. Does anybody have any questions about this? It's a pretty big batch. 433 is a pretty large batch of transfers. Seeing none, there's a motion on the table. All those in favor of approving budget transfer number 433? That passes 4-0. Our next budget transfer is number 480. This was also in your packet, and now it is also on my screen. Before we ask Ms. Sherburne to discuss this, can I please have a motion to accept?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Manzo. Can I have a
Second.
second? Thank you, Ms. Coelho. Ms. Sherburne, would you like to speak to transfer number 480?
This one is mainly salary transfers, so for areas that we had some surpluses and some shortages that we needed to do this. A lot of these may have been that we had things that were being charged to grants that were coming into the appropriation, but mainly they are salary. It's just to align. So this year, what I did is I went in and forecasted what we would be doing for our balloon check, so you should not have as large transfer in the fall saying, what did I do? Because I went into the payrolls to see what we're anticipating for the teacher payroll that's going to happen next week. That's a balloon check.
So before I look around the room, may I please summarize? This transfer is salaries to salaries, whereas the last one was extras and salary lines going to fund B&G related items?
Yes, and utilities.
Okay. All right, I'm looking around the room. Does anybody have any questions on this? Is also quite a large batch of transfers across salary line items. Seeing none, there's a motion on the floor. All those in favor of this transfer? That passes 4-0. Ms. Wilson. Our last transfer, there's two more. Oh, no.
There was
I'm
one
gonna
I
have to-
sent late today. but
I'm
the
gonna
next
go
one
have
you
to find
is
the late-
1,051.
All right, 1051 is on my screen right now.
Yes.
And before we talk about that one, may I have a motion to accept that, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Manzo.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Coelho. I have stopped sharing for a minute so I can go fetch the next one. While I'm fetching the next one, Ms. Sherburne, will you please speak to this one?
Yes, so this one here is Buildings and Grounds. I was looking for to do a purchase order for fire and security area on 11,415, and I took the funding from an overage that I had in the copiers. We changed copier vendors this year, so therefore we had a slight savings that was able to fund this.
Okay, I'm looking around the room. Does anybody have any questions about this transfer? Okay, seeing none, there's a motion on the table. All those in favor? That passes 4-0. All right, and now I'm going to share my screen again. And we have a new window open with budget transfer number 610. That is on your screen. I'll make it a little larger. Okay, before we ask Ms. Sherburne to speak to this one, may I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you. Ms. Coelho.
Second.
I saw you already unmuting. I already started to say thank you. A motion to accept this transfer by Mr. Manzo, a second by Ms. Coelho. Thank you. Ms. Sherburne, would you like to speak to this one, please?
So again, this one here is to fund the Buildings and Grounds area under the expenses, and we had some savings in some of the salary and admin accounts to do this. I do want to state that it's not that the Buildings and Grounds was under, just going over their budget. These are items that Mr. Shirley brought forth that he would like to do, and we knew we had funding elsewhere, so we brought it forward. So he and I worked very closely throughout the year, saying, okay, I'm going to need money here, I'm going to need money there. And then Dr. Shirocek and I talk about what do we need to do, what should we do. Some of this might be getting some floor wax in so they can start right when school gets out. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody didn't think that Mr. Shirley was just going like a wild cat and spending money. He has been in conversation with me throughout the year saying where he felt we had deficits, and I said, don't worry, I'll find the money.
We love that when you do that, Ms. Sherburne. And I've been remiss, at our table this evening is head of B&G for the schools, Mr. Shirley, and he'll be speaking hopefully in a couple of minutes. All right, any questions on this particular transfer? Yes, Ms. Coelho.
Thanks. I didn't get to look at this at work today, so, because it just came out today.
Yes.
But the money coming out of the 403B match retirement,
Yes, so what happens is the teachers can elect into a 403B thing where we give them a match of $250, and we already have spent that out, and so we have it budgeted at $48,000, and we had only needed the 41 is what we needed, so we taking $7,000 that was left over.
so it's not going to like affect the next fiscal year as well?
No, because that we would have the next budget for next year for that.
Okay.
Any other questions on this transfer? Yes, Mr. Manzo.
So is a lot of this money for like summer projects work going forward? Is that what we're doing with this?
Some of it would be projects that we're going to be starting this month that would go into the summer. Some of it is for the supplies. A lot of it, the electrical, is things that we've been working on that we needed the funding to take care of, finish paying the bills.
Which makes sense. If you have money left over, you can't bring it forward for next year. So let's start knocking some things off the list
Right.
this fiscal year. Good, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions on this budget transfer? Seeing none, there's a motion on the table. All those in favor? Ms. Wilson, that passes 4-0. Phew, we're cruising right along. Okay, that transfers out of here. Next on our agenda, which requires a vote, is this month's gifts to schools. I'm bringing that up on my screen. Hold, please. I'll make it a little larger. Note to self, bring a mouse to the meetings. It makes it a little easier to run the scroll bar. Okay, so on my screen right now, we have a total gifts to school this month of $4,619.20. I'm looking for a motion to accept that wonderful gift.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Manzo. And
Second.
a second. Thank you, Ms. Coelho. Jean, do you want to speak to any of these,
So
or
these
do we
are,
want to just
I do
field
wanna,
questions?
Let you know that we did receive 2 Bev Ed Foundation grants that came earlier than when they're going to be presenting later
This evening.
tonight.
Tonight.
So this one was for items that they wanted to be able to buy the books now. So they did give us to the Centerville and to the Hannah, the Bev Ed. So those came in. Normally that would be with the whole group that we'll get tonight. They may even mention them in their thing tonight, but we got the funds in-house now. So I had Bobby put that in. And other than that, it's just the normal gifts that we receive in May. And then we'll be bringing the June ones forth in the fall.
Okay, and I think, and those of you who won't be staying with us for the whole evening, one of the grants is in fact elementary school wide. So even though you only see 2 on here this evening, in fact, all 5 elementaries, some wonderful person wrote a grant and Bev Ed approved it. And so all the elementary schools are getting the same, quote unquote, the same batch of books. Even though only 2 elementaries show up here this evening. All right, anybody have any other questions on this gifts to schools? All right, seeing none, there's a motion on the table. All those in favor? 4-0. Thank you very much, everybody. We always love gifts to schools. And now the next item on our agenda is the B&G report. It was in your packet, and even better, and I'll bring it up on my screen, we have live from New York, aka Beverly, Massachusetts, head of the B&G for our schools, Mr. Shiroli. And so this is our opportunity. We have different department heads come in throughout the year and present to us a general overview and or just line up to be questioned by the committee. We're fairly friendly. It really, we are. So that said, would you like to say something overall, or would you just like to be center field and field questions?
I can say something. So first, well, thank you for having me. I could go over this really quick, and you guys could stop me along the way and ask any questions you feel free to. I guess I'll kind of go over the summer work that we have upcoming. We have our annual inspections that we do every summer. A lot of it's life safety, so you have fire extinguishers, annual fire alarm inspections. We do grease trap cleaning. We do kitchen hood inspections and cleanings. We look at all the kilns throughout the district, make sure those are operational for the start of the school year. And then we change all the filters, whether it's the univents or the rooftop units at all the schools. We try to do that towards the end of August, so right before school starts. So we have fresh filters to start the school year.
Linda, all of these things that he's mentioning is on page 2 of
I'm
your-
scrolling. Sorry, I was trying to
That's
give
okay.
him my undivided
I know you
attention,
were.
and
Yes,
yet
you
I
were.
was on the wrong page.
No
There we
worries.
go.
And I think the big thing I want to discuss are we have a few big major projects that we have going on this upcoming summer. And they're listed here. I could go a little in depth into them. The first one is the Hannah, the outdoor classroom pavilion. So we recently received the bids back this morning from our kind friends over at City Procurement. And we still have a few questions out to them before we make a selection. But the Hannah project, it looks as though the kit for the pavilion, which is a prefabricated kit that then is assembled on site, is 3 to 4 months out. We're hoping that we're able to do the site work over the summer, and then once the kit comes in, hopefully they'll be able to assemble that rather quickly. But again, we still have a few questions on that. The Centerville flooring project. So this project, and Dr. Shoroshak and Jean, we've discussed in the schools, we've had some permanent carpeting that's been in the schools for 20 plus years, and it's time to look at a future flooring. So one thing that we're looking at is this product called Outro Quartz. So unlike VCT, you don't need to to strip and wax it every year. So we're kind of taking the harsh chemical and a lot of the labor that's put into our floors every year. All it is we really just auto scrub it and clean it every year. So it's going to save us some time, and we're not going to be using harsh chemicals either. So we're waiting on the quotes for that. We had quite a few bidders interested in that, so I'm waiting on city procurement to give us the numbers on that. Next up, we have the synthetic turf project, which is right outside here between the first floor cafeteria and the turf. One of the reasons we were looking at this is we have a slope that goes down. There's a lot of foot traffic across it. There's really no way to grow grass with the amount of foot traffic we have. So we received that back today. We had one bid, and that was the bid that was our preferred vendor. Within budget, exactly what we budgeted for, so we're hoping that should be able to get done this summer, which will be great. That will also allow the middle school to use the outdoors, hopefully for an outdoor classroom, concerts, students and staff could go out there for lunches. When it rains out, it won't be muddy, so we won't be tracking inside. So there's a lot of benefits to doing this. Next, we have Ayers Kindergarten Playground. So we're replacing the playground at the kindergarten playground at Ayers, and that will happen towards the end of July, and it should be about a 2-week project. So we're doing poured-in-place rubber surfacing, and we'll see how that works. And yeah, so I mean, I'm open to any questions that you guys could see. I listed each school base, some of the stuff that we have going on at each school. Small to medium-sized projects we'd like to do. And on top of that, our custodians will be doing their deep cleaning in the schools as they do every summer.
Okay, FNFers, I'm looking around the room. Does anybody wish to quiz Mr. Shirley? Yes, Mr. Manzo?
What about painting? You have any painting projects inside any of the schools?
We do. So looking at the high school, the plan is to try to really hit the high school, the first floor anyways. I don't think that's been painted in maybe possibly since the school's been opened or recommissioned. So we're looking there, and we're going to be doing some small painting projects in other schools and rooms that have been requested by principals.
And is that all in-house staff with the?
We would do that in-house, correct?
Oh, good.
Yeah, so the cost is really just the cost of the paint or any equipment that goes along with it, which is minimal.
Yep. And are you taking on any extra help over the summer? I know in the past you've hired some small number of students to do some work.
We have 12 students this summer. So we have 2 at the high, we're gonna have 2 at the high school, 2 at the middle school, and then 1 at each of the elementary schools to help out. And then we also have another staff member that helps out with the YMCA program at Hannah. So we did not do that last year, so we're hoping that will really help us to do a little more this year.
Good. Do you know if those positions have been filled?
So we have 9 of them that are official. 3, we actually sent emails out today. 3 of them have not gotten their paperwork in. So we said if we don't get it by the end of this week, then we're going to have to look elsewhere, and we have a waiting list. But
You do have people.
but by all means, if you have someone that's interested.
No, I just, since this is going live out to,
Yeah.
dozens of people, I thought maybe we'd,
Dozens.
if the positions are open, it'd be an opportunity for someone to say, hey, I need a job.
No, it's been great. Mark Thomas has helped us out to spread the word over at the high school. We've had a lot of student athletes that have been interested, and so the ones that have already done the paperwork, great. The other ones, it's either,
Get moving.
get it in, or we're going to get somebody else.
Sure, well, good. Well, good luck with it all.
Yeah, thank
This
you.
is your PSA. If you're one of those 3 individuals and our Venn diagram and you're watching at home, then get your paperwork in. Okay. Nobody else has any questions for Mr. Shirley. I suppose that means you're free to run away.
You're letting me off easy. Appreciate it.
I have a question for you, but it can wait until later, so it's not.
You sure?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Because we have a few more things to get through here, and I think that I know how to reach you.
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Sherburne, I am trying to find your update. Oh, look, I was already at the bottom of it. Hold on, I have to scroll back up. The floor, Ms. Sherburne, is yours.
Okay, so first of all, happy Flag Day. I'm going to be bringing forth food service update, and then I have the revenues and expense reports. So we've been working on getting our cafeterias revamped, and
I'm
we've
looking for a
had
drum
this-
roll. I'm looking for a drum roll before I scroll.
And so this month, North Beverly was completed, and it's called the Rising Star Cafe, where they're all stars. And Ms. Leal sent me pictures of what was done in that particular school.
Before
And she is very happy with
and after.
the work. This one was how are we going to institute the stars in, where would they would go? In each of these schools, when they're done, there is a group that's together, the principal, teachers, not sure if they include students or not, but they have people that meet with us to discuss, what we want to do. And they were very pleased with it. It's very calming, is what I've been told. So, funny story is that the procurement office, when these were going through, was questioning us spending the funds on this. And that particular person went to the school with their grandchildren and was in awe about it. So we actually got a very good compliment on what we've been doing.
This, I have to say, this one is lovely. I'm a little partial to the Beaver Lodge over at Centerville, but I'm sure we all have our favorites. And as they continue to come online,
Yes.
everybody will have their own elementary school favorite, I'm sure.
Right, we do have 2 more that are coming on, and that would be the Airs is going to be done over the summer, and then the Cove will be done next school year. We actually have to go out to bid on that one because we could only, certain thresholds, go out to bid, and then therefore we will be going out to bid.
And
for the
do we
Cove.
get a sneak peek of the themes for those ones?
No.
It's a big reveal.
It's a big reveal. Yes, I'm not sure what is going to be coming, but like yourself, I like the Beaver Lodge, the first one.
So it's very interesting because each school has its own character, right? And they have their own, themes that they go by. The North Beverly Stars have been that for a long time. Centerville Beavers, and so it is interesting to see as we go what will emerge from each school, and they do take a lot of time to think about, what will best represent us as a school, and so it's really nice to, and it is nice to see what will come from each one. So.
Okay, so the next thing is our revenues, reviewing the revenues and the expenses. So here's the revenue report on the screen. If everybody, I'll make it a little smaller so it can all fit on one screen. Oh no, help, what happened? Hold please. Here we go.
So on the revenues, the one thing I wanted to point out is last month I discussed at the meeting about the state grants and happened to have our budget reduced by $26,000. That has not happened yet. That will be happening in this month. But at this point, the city hadn't given us our final quarter, but that will change a little bit. The school choice, the 55,251 is how much we receive each month, so we'll be receiving that in June. The circuit breaker revenue of 766,779, that's a quarterly amount that we receive each quarter, and again, that will be coming in on June 30th. The transportation revolving was anticipating, or let's just say my budget projection of 218,600 came in a little short of 46,000, 360. It's not what we were planning on receiving based on our actual usage, but I will have enough funding in the revolving account to cover the offsets that we have. The YMCA rental, that amount will be coming in. The building rental will be coming in because I believe we still haven't posted May or June, one or both in there, so that number will definitely come in. And the preschool revolving, there's just a slight that we're still trying to collect from parents. So as far as the revenues are concerned, I have no problems with where we stand. And then the June report will have received everything. Yeah, so I ran this expenditure report on 6/9 for me to be able to send it out to you on a timely basis. And then these transfers that you've seen, most of them were done after that 6/9 period, so those funds have already been transferred. We're always looking at our OT 275, which is page, I should tab that, but I don't. Yes, 33.
Yep.
So there, as you can see where I'm here, we only had 12,000 remaining for the month of June for substitutes. That is in here, I did have to transfer, I believe I transferred an additional 30,000 in there to cover the month. So at this time of year, there's a lot of personal days that are taken, and some of them are unpaid because we did put in a contract that we didn't want, there had to be extenuating circumstances after April vacation. But that's one area that I was looking at. And then, of course, the SP 860 area, which is the amount that for the special education tuition, and the amount that's showing there at this time was 719,000, and that would be used for prepayments for tuition. So, when we built our budget, we were really worried about using all of our circuit breakers. So hopefully, we'll find at the end of the year that we have a little bit more savings in there that we can make those prepayments. But last year, it was approximately 750 to 795 that we prepaid. And that's a benefit that we can do. That is the only thing that we can actually do is prepay tuitions with this year's funds for next year for 3 months.
I was just going to say, can you speak to, we have like 3 minutes left. Can you speak to the financial best practices about how many months we have a goal of having in that account to be able to prepay? The maximum is 3 months.
Right, yep, so the maximum is 3 months in there. So I don't really have like a goal on what we should have each year, but what we do know is circuit breaker, your goal is to be able to carry over your entire amount that you received this year, which is 3 million, over into the next year. And when we built our budget, we were planning on using 40% of our new money. So if I'm able to save and pay more, we'll be in a better situation than we projected in May when we did our budget.
Because our goal would be that at the end of the year, this account number would have 4 million in it. This revolving account.
The revolving that we don't see right here, with the circuit breaker, we can only roll over what we receive.
Right.
So if we receive 3 million, next year it can only receive 3 million. Say we get 3 million, it's got 6. We got to spend what we received in the current year.
Okay.
And this one here is whatever funding we have. So what, my magic that I do at the end of the year is move things into this account so that we can do the prepayments. But, as you can see in this area, we have spent 4,655,000. So that's that year-to-date column in this category. So we've spent that. So if we divide that by 12 and then multiply it by 3, which I can't do in my head, that's an area that we would, that could be your goal, but really you don't want to over forecast what you're going to be spending.
It'd be $1.2 million,
$1.2 million, thank you.
approximately.
All right, so I'm
Okay.
thinking at 700, I'm getting close to that.
Excellent.
So I don't really have I know I don't have a deficit problem in our appropriated budget.
We love that. Okay, does anybody have any questions for Ms. Sherburne on either, well, we blew past the revenues or the expense report? All right, then, I really appreciate your willingness to have this compressed meeting. Ms. Flowers, and I'm also remiss, I did not announce that online, we have our city council representative this evening. We are blessed to have city council president Julie Flowers with us, but I didn't look for your hand. I didn't call on you at all this evening, Ms. Flowers. I'm very sorry. Sorry. Okay, so
That's okay, Ms. Visnick.
I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Manzo. A second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Coelho. All those in favor, non-debatable, 4-0. Again, thank you for your time. This was our last meeting of this school year. We'll be in touch in late summer to schedule our first meeting of the fall. And yeah, thanks for letting us go so fast this evening. Thank you, BevCam.
Good evening and welcome to the Beverly School Committee's Curriculum and Instruction Student Life Committee's meeting. Today is Wednesday, June 14th, 2023, and we are meeting in a hybrid remote model today using a remote application allowing for remote participation and for public access to all open portions of our meeting. We are being recorded on the platform. Joining us today are members of the school committee and various members of the district administration team. We will conduct a full roll call attendance in just a moment for the record, since the meeting application sometimes does not display all participants. Please remember that any audio video you supply on this platform will become part of the meeting record. As such, please use your mute functionality to prevent background noises. I would now like to ask President Abel to conduct a roll call to ensure you're able to hear me and that we can hear you this evening.
Sure. We are joined online by our citizen representative, Allison Driscoll.
Here.
Great. We can hear you great. In the room, we have our principal, Kate Twombly, assistant principal Kate Twombly, who's on the committee. Obviously, Karen Robinson, our chair, is present. I am Rachel Abel, present. We also are joined by Dr. Sue Chorocek.
Here.
And Dr. Dorothy Flaherty.
Here.
We have a number of principals in the building as well. We have Erin Sweeney. Here. Lisa Oliver. Here. Gabrielle Monavecchi. Here. Julie Smith. Here. Amy Blanchard. Here. Betty Taylor. Here. Megan Hart. Here. Okay, we also have our City Connects coordinator or director, Megan Sudak. HR, we have Erin Brown. Here. Anyone hiding? I saw Dr. Morgan earlier, I just don't see him at this moment. And our recording secretary, Liz Wilson. Did I do Dr. Flaherty? Did I skip right over you?
That's
Dr.
okay.
Flaherty, of course. Thanks.
So before we turn it over to Dr. Flaherty, I would like to ask that Betty Taylor lead us in the pledge this evening.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll start by also acknowledging that today's Flag Day, so happy Flag Day, everybody. Our agenda, in a moment, I'll ask for approval of our minutes from the May 10th, 2023 meeting. We will not have any student updates tonight because they're all, our seniors have graduated, and I think almost all of our 8th graders are on a bus back from Six Flags and trying to avoid the weather. So we may actually see them arrive at some point. We have all of our wonderful principals with us this evening to give their updates on their school improvement plans, their goals that they achieved this year, and what they will be working on for our next school year. We have some quick updates around program of studies and after dark program. The elementary global child participation, that's our foreign language opportunities for elementary school students. A quick overview of our summer professional development offerings will give you a more detailed explanation of how they went in the fall, and then just some acknowledgements at the end. So before we get started with our presentations on school improvement plans, I would like to ask for a motion to approve the minutes of the May 10th, 2023 meeting.
I will make a motion to approve the May 10th, 2023 minutes.
Is there a second?
Second.
The motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Mrs. Abel, could you call a roll?
Sure. I think we just had one sentence that needed to be completed.
Oh, yes. There was a sentence that I believe I was asking about the report cards with the honor roll distinction. I think we just, it wasn't the same in the handbook that it actually is now. I think we don't have distinction and we don't have honors with, like, it's like a second honors that we don't have anymore.
Right. So I
So
think
we
was just-
filled it in.
Yeah, missing the sentence, the rest of the sentence needs to be filled in with that.
Can
Okay?
you tell us in which section that was, or
It was
get it
page-
to us?
It was page 4.
Page-
And I will call the roll if there's no other corrections, right? Okay. And I'm just trying to see we have 4 voting members tonight? Okay. So Allison Driscoll,
Yes.
thanks. Kate Twombly,
Yes.
Karen Robinson,
Yes?
and Rachel Abel, yes. 4-0, Ms. Wilson.
Thank you very much. And now I'd like to ask Ms. Montevecchi, she's going to be going first. We're out of a alphabetical order, which is usually how we go, because Ms. Montevecchi has to get to the Cabot to facilitate a community event this evening.
Thank you, everyone. Great to be with you tonight and pleased to share a reflection on our school improvement plan for our 2022-2023 school year. Our goals amongst all of our elementary schools were aligned, and the goals that we focused on as a team this year were students in the high needs subgroups demonstrating improvement as measured by the district benchmarks in literacy and across all genres of writing. The second goal was that students will demonstrate an increased level of performance in their understanding of the mathematics curriculum frameworks and standards as measured by both the district and determined measures and state assessment scores. And finally, our third goal was that educators will embed culturally responsive teaching and social emotional learning strategies into every classroom to prepare all of our students to be competent, independent learners. I included on this slide, just very briefly, some data I'd like to share with all of you. The first table represents our DIBELS composite scores for students in the high needs subcategory. And we are very pleased to see a notable decrease from the fall to the spring in students in that high needs subgroup category. One exception I will call out to you is 4th grade. You see the 12%, and then you see the 13% between the fall and the spring. And something that all the elementary principals are familiar with, as well as coaches, is there is a notable increase in Lexile level at this grade level. That test actually jumps up to a 7th grade Lexile level. Our students typically come in rather strong in 4th grade, and then there's a Lexile jump. So that's something that you should note about that piece. Next table represents the DIBELS composite scores at benchmark. We were pleased to see notable increases across all grade levels between our fall and spring data. And finally, our math benchmark average scores across the building between fall and the spring. Again, sizable increases between our fall benchmark data scores and our spring benchmark data scores. Next, on our summary of accomplishments underneath our goal headings, just a few. It's hard to reduce the entire work of the year into these few bullet points, but we all do our best. So under our first goal heading, we worked very hard this year to increase our reading and math intervention support across all grade levels. We built a schedule which included weekly grade level team time with our instructional coach, as well as our Title I math specialist and our L teacher. We increased our collaborative planning across all grade levels with our L teacher in order to maximize the application of skills and concepts in our new Wit and Wisdom literacy program. And we keep expanding our work of co-taught classrooms at every grade level to really support student-specific goal areas. Under our next goal, following our math assessment goals, we worked very hard to really collaborate closely with our Title I math specialist. She was constantly flexing her groupings to help kids reach their targets and then graduate kids from groups as they met those benchmark targets. We also conducted professional development to the use of the ST data dashboard so that teachers are using the dashboard on a weekly basis. And then next, we increased our use of the WIN block, What I Need, across all grades. And this is designed to help students work strategically in groupings based on their needs. And this is based on ongoing benchmark assessment analysis, as well as how students are performing in the classroom. And then finally, our work around culturally responsive teaching. We're working to constantly review our resources and curriculum materials to reflect global perspectives with a wide range of life experiences, so making sure that our children have reflections of not only life that looks like their own, but the lives of others across the world. Our new faculty participated in the responsive classroom, comprehensive professional development. We also worked to embed our second steps lessons, and that was implemented by our City Connects coordinator, Erica Lepek. We expanded our opportunities for collaboration between the classroom teachers and our specialist teachers to reinforce effective routines for learning across all settings, and that included our the daily routines and morning meeting with responsive classroom in the specialist classes. And then finally, we conducted a book study using the book Beyond Restorative Justice, which was led by our Title I math specialist. And that happened this winter, and then the folks that participated in the book study brought back professional development to our entire staff in the spring. So thank you. That concludes my updates.
And I would just ask if there's any questions for Ms. Montevecchi and Hannah, that you ask those now. We'll hold the rest of them to the end, but she needs to leave. Thank you very much. And
Thank you for allowing me to go first.
as Ms. Smith is coming up to talk about Centerville, I just want to remind you, as they're talking about each of their school areas, they link directly to our district goals, which you've seen this slide multiple times, but just as a refresher. And that this is a good visual to show how the district improvement plan shapes the school improvement plans, and then the school improvement plan should frame each of the teacher education plans in the fall. Centerville.
Okay, so we had shared elementary goals developed for this last cycle, so I won't spend a lot of time as Gabrielle had just shared the goals around writing, math, and SEL and culturally responsive teaching. You can move on to the next one. So some of the things that we're really proud of, I just want to say, like, this is such a nice time of year to be able to celebrate what an amazing year this really was. I think that it took a lot of chin scratching and a lot of problem solving just to kind of think about all the wide range of needs that we've been seeing over the last couple of years. And so one of the things that we were proud of is the way that people really maximize the time. We kind of said, open doors, open books, and let's get to it. And so we were grateful for the additional funding over the last few years that really allowed us to get kids in, get them started with before school interventions. We kept students many days after school in our Scholars program, Scholars Club programming, and just various, pretty much throughout the whole year. So we thought that that made a really big difference in creating positive school engagement for our kids and then academic enrichment. The teachers now, especially with having the consistent curriculum, we were able to really drill down and think about the extra scaffolds and supports that students needed to move their learning forward. In the areas of math, again, we're year 3 in Discern, as you know, and I think having the consistent curriculum year after year, we're starting to see that strength really flow up through the grade levels. And so having that consistent language has really allowed us to focus and collaborate more around having strong practices to make sure that we're not just implementing programs or implementing curriculum, but that we're implementing it well with strong practices. And then, you know, under that last goal with the culturally diverse curriculum materials, I have to say for this year, the Wit and Wisdom program has really just kicked that forward in such a great way, and not only expanding the perspectives or adding diversity to the perspectives in the classroom, but truly elevating student voice. That is something that has been ringing really true for us in the data meetings. People are really proud and celebrating just the student voice and the knowledge that kids are bringing to the discussions in the classroom. And then, as you said, I'm glad Gabrielle made that point around 4th grade, because when we look at our data, we were celebrating just the amount of growth that we were seeing in our kids across the board. But we were seeing in 4th grade, there was just something around the text passage that we're seeing kind of a flat line. And we've seen that year after year with all of our cohorts of kids. So it's something that we're looking, you know, deeply at. I think we're all done. Thank you, everybody.
Any questions for Centerville? Thank you. And Miss Megan Hart will come to present AIRS.
My badge is loud, sorry. Hi, good evening, thank you for having me. Same as Julie, I am going to skip going in depth on the goals, but just give you kind of a summary of accomplishments and jump right into some data. So in the first goal category for us, the high need subgroups, much like you've already heard, I think that some of the strengths have been our co-teaching model, the additional time and resources that we put into the collaborative planning process with our support staff, which includes SPED, Title I, our L staff. I think a little bit unique to us was some professional development that we had been doing around reading research and brain-based best practices. We had done a lot of, as you see as part of the goal, looking at specific writing protocols around looking at student work with our MCAS data, which we found to be really helpful. And learning walks, doing learning walks in each other's classrooms, especially as we were implementing Wit and Wisdom. We were all new at it, so going into each other's classrooms and getting a feel for what it looked like in other rooms was really helpful. Around math, I think that for us, our biggest celebration was that we had common goals across grade levels, which was around constructed responses and common language for that. And that we were much more flexible this year in terms of the resources that kids used. We utilize ST Math and Zern, which both have a digital platform element. And they're very different from each other, so we were really thinking about how we could personalize those platforms for student needs, and I think that that was really beneficial for us. And I did put at the end that our goal for next year, into looking at next year, is to build some more fact fluency across the grade levels. And in terms of culturally responsive teaching and social emotional learning, City Connects was a wonderful addition for us this year. Really worked collaboratively with our SAC in terms of helping support second steps, in terms of we did some responsive classroom training. We had in our building a culturally responsive teaching committee that created some resources for use across the building that aligned with Wit and Wisdom. So that was something that was an addition as well. Oh, I keep clicking mine, but it's you. Thank you. So my first chart here, I'm going to try to explain it as simply as I can. This goal was really around looking at high needs students. And so what I basically did was I went through each grade level and I looked at the gain scores from beginning of year to end of year. So the first column is the grade level. The second column tells you the average gain scores of just our high need students in each area. And then next to it, you see the average gain score of all of our students. So if not being right on par with each other, in some cases, like first grade in particular, our high need students were actually gaining more throughout the course of the year. And the last column shows us the average months of growth in literacy that those high need students in each grade level made. 50th percentile being average, and you can see in some of the grade levels even up into the 60th and 79th percentile. So we were really happy with that. And again, we attribute that to our co-teaching model and to the collaborative work that we did, because our high need students are the students who get the most support typically in our building in terms of intervention and other services. So that collaboration we feel like was really beneficial. Next is similar to what both Hannah and Centerville presented, which is our gain scores, and this is for all students from beginning of year to end of year growth, K through 4. And you'll notice that though our third and fourth grade scores are on the lower end for end of year, they also started with a lower percentage. So they had more room to grow in those two grade levels.
Can I just point out too, and this is true again for all of the fourth grades, if you remember our third grade MCAS scores last year, that was the grade level that had the biggest impact and the biggest learning loss. So this is actually showing that even though it's still not completely where we would want it, they're significantly closing that gap.
Yeah, thank you. And last but not least, our culturally responsive and social emotional strategies. Like I said, I talked a little bit about City Connects. We've piloted some classroom conversations using Second Step and our City Connects coordinator. We plan on continuing that next year. We drew on content connections when we could with the Wit and Wisdom. This is just one example. Some of our English learner friends, they were studying space in their grade 3 module, and their teacher had them do some research on
a 12-year-old Brazilian girl who was actually the youngest astronomer in the world. And so they researched her, they wrote letters to her. And so those type of connections were really meaningful to kids, and they were really proud of that.
Did they hear back from her?
They did not, but there's still time. We still have days. We are still in the process through our first year implementation of diversifying even more additional titles for Wit and Wisdom, although they did bring us certainly more diverse titles to begin with. And we are looking at making Second Step more predictable in each building to support that social emotional learning and to have some mentoring for teachers around that.
And one of the positive things that happened was we received a grant this spring for helping us with our implementation of high-quality instructional materials. And we were able to write it so that each of the schools are going to be able to order $7,000 apiece of additional volume of reading text to help with that diversification. Any questions for Ms. Hart?
Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Sweeney will come to represent Cove.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. So as everybody said, you know, a lot of what we're saying is repetitive. As a elementary school leadership team, we work very closely together in building our goals and in working together just in terms of how we meet them. And so there's a lot of repetition, so I'll try to just go through the highlights, and they'll, you know, you'll probably hear so either it's good because I don't have to say as much, or they're stealing my thunder. Either way.
I like the word cohesion.
Yes,
better than
cohesion.
repetition.
Okay, cohesion. So I just want to find the right page here. Sorry, because I can't see that up there. All right. So for our first goal, we definitely found the benefit of a knowledge-based curriculum that, and all students were able to access that curriculum regardless of whether they were special ed student, an L student. There was some kind of entry point that they could reach with the knowledge-based curriculum in Wit and Wisdom, so we appreciated that, and we could see a lot of growth with them and just hear their voices, which was great. Having vertically aligned graphic organizers to support writing. So we're hoping to, that has served us, you know, throughout the grades this year. And we're certainly hoping that's going to benefit us as the students go through the grade levels. We had a schedule that incorporated daily win blocks for targeted instruction. So everybody was getting what they needed in addition to the Wit and Wisdom block. And the collaboration between grade level coaches, ESL and SPED teams to address the needs of newcomers and special education students and all students was phenomenal. And it was one of the highlights in our data meetings this year as a positive that everybody reflected on, that the collaboration was increased and they saw the benefit in it, which having a common program like Wit and Wisdom and learning it together was a benefit of that for sure. We also had after-school scholars programs. We implemented best practices in reading aligned to the research-based science of reading. So we've been working on science of reading for the past few years, and that has, you know, the teachers are getting more educated in that and with explicit teaching, and we have a flexible co-teaching model. And then with our math, we really just had to, there are so many resources in addition to our core curriculum that we needed to be strategic in our use of Zern, coupled with the targeted and aligned math, ST math topics. So we tried to align those so that they would either get a preview of something coming up in Zern, or they would be reinforced skills, but they would see it and it would spiral throughout the year. We had consistent use of ST math across all grade levels, and we use the ST Math quizzes to inform the program's efficacy. So since it's a different program than Zern and it's a more visual-based program, just knowing that it's actually supplementing their knowledge of the content. We fine-tuned the use of curriculum resources to align the learning objectives and needs of students, and the teachers and paras supported students in math centers in grades K through 2, which was really reaped rewards for us. We also had very successful AIM integration in math this year. We just found that to be a huge win for us, and we also had math learning walks. And then as far as our third goal, for culturally responsive teaching and social emotional learning strategies, the collaborative wit and wisdom literacy planning and instruction with coaches and L teachers and special ed. We analyzed core and supplemental text with a critical eye for cultural responsiveness, and we have started in our leadership team and used with our teachers, started using a checklist, which is a work in progress, but we started using that. All classrooms utilize responsive classroom routines and expectations, and then our school adjustment counselor and City Connects coordinator provided weekly SEL lessons in every classroom throughout the year, so that the addition of a City Connects coordinator was huge for us. And every kindergarten student participated in a lunch bunch between the school adjustment counselor and a City Connects coordinator. And we continue to build our multicultural and SEL collection of texts. I also have some data here which shows a lot of growth in most areas. I had done a table on the areas of focus, so there are certain areas within each grade level that we really target, and so those were the scores that I indicated here. And then I just wanted to highlight, I know our green team started this year, and that's going to be a goal of ours for next year, that Julie Smith will talk about our goals for next year, but I just wanted to highlight this because this was a phenomenal collaboration with a group of teachers in kindergarten and fourth grade to be able to have the kindergartner and the fourth grade students work together. The fourth graders were the green team members, but they partnered with Change is Simple to figure out the benefits of composting. And then the fourth graders took leadership roles and educated all students on recycling, composting, and how students can solve food waste problems. And then they partnered with the kindergarten students to create a mason jar compost using lunch scraps. And so everybody had this big, huge mason jar in their classroom that they were watching decompose, which was fun. It had worms and everything in it. And then the younger students and the fourth graders monitored and observed the changes in their homemade composting waste, and then they added the compost to a raised garden bed, so the fourth graders, hoed it and weeded it, and then the kindergartners went out and planted things, and then, so now we have a pollinator garden there. So the teachers who did a course in Park in Every Classroom, it just happened to coincide with having green team, so it worked out perfectly to make a really fruitful program here, like a PBL across grade levels. So I think that's it.
Any questions for Mrs. Sweeney? Okay. Thank you. And now for North Beverly, Ms. Blanchard.
Hello. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. I will be sticking with the cohesive theme of the night. I wanted to start off
the word of the night.
highlighting the green table over there, and that provides a universal view of our scores in Dibbles. I wanted to particularly highlight our kindergarten because this year we had a particularly low group that came in at 18% making benchmark, and they are leaving us at 85% at benchmark, which has been huge. But the school actually really focused on our high needs group. So if you look at the table with the blue, these are our high needs. And in the fall, our kindergarten, we had 53% of our kids considered high need, and they are leaving us at 9%, which has been tremendous. In first grade, we have 20% of our kids. That has cut in half to 10. And in grade 2, we had 20% of our kids, and now that is down to 11. And I attribute this a lot to the implementation of our knowledge-based curriculum, Wit and Wisdom, the connection between Foundations, Geodes, and Wit and Wisdom, which is something we hadn't had in the past, consistent, targeted, explicit small group instruction, the use of exemplars and students scoring their own writing and revising it, multiple opportunities for students to practice these skills every day, and purposeful scheduling to maximize all of our instructional time. And we continuously progress monitor our students, and we use this data to inform future instruction. And I'm proud to say, as a school, we have 81% of our students that have met their fluency benchmark. Moving on to goal number 2, we're looking at our math, and we looked at both the district and state assessments, and I wanted to highlight down below the table where our math MCAS is highlighted. Last year in grade 3, we had 51% of our students meet or exceed expectations versus 41% of the state. Grade 4, this was amazing. We had 71% of our school meet or exceed this versus 42 at the state. And I really want to highlight that because in addition to us reaching 71%, also our growth from grade 3 to grade 4 in math, we had 71% student growth percentile, which is amazing. If you look over to the table highlighted in pink, it just gives you a global view of where we started with our math benchmarks for the entire school. And overall, we had about a 50% gain of students meeting benchmark at all grade levels. And
Amy, before you move on, I believe one of the goals across all 5 schools was to meet an 80% fulfillment on ST math puzzles.
Yes.
In every school, I believe.
we did do that, yes. I think we all did. That was fabulous. So I attribute this growth to the implementation, again, of explicit instruction, the use of our data to inform our decisions, consistent use of ST Math and Zern as rigorous tools to reinforce conceptual understanding. And additionally, our math coach did pilot Building Fact Fluency program in all classes, and we just concluded our data meetings, and that was a huge success universally in the school.
And that coach will be offering a 1-credit course to any teacher in the district this summer. And last year it did not run. You'll see with our update coming up shortly, all but one of our in-district courses will run this summer, and this will be one of them.
Awesome. And then our last goal was the culturally responsive teaching and social emotional learning. As a school, North Beverly embraced our responsive classrooms, second steps, steps to success, and OAS curriculum to provide students with the social skills they need to navigate school. Our SAC and City Connects counselors partnered together to conduct proactive social emotional lessons within each classroom. As a school, we embraced a weekly STAR habit based on Ron Clark's book, The Essential 55, which are guidelines for living and interacting with each other, which was a huge hit with our children. As a staff, we examined our literature with a critical lens to identify curricular bias and implement a checklist for all new materials. And we expanded our culturally responsive library and interactive read-alouds to validate students' cultural identity and to ensure that they are really seeing themselves reflected in the instructional materials that we are using. And I just wanted to leave you guys with a social media post from one of my parents that really kind of sums up the essence of who we are at North Beverly. She posted, this is from our open house, North Beverly Stars at Open House. You know it's an amazing school when your kids are so excited to share their second home with you.
Any questions for Ms. Blanchard? Thanks. And I believe Ms. Smith is coming back to share their elementary plan for next year.
Yes, I'm back. As the face of cohesion in the elementary schools. So our goals, we obviously draw from the district goals, so they will sound very familiar to you, but then we take them to our little team and we think about what does that look like from an elementary perspective. So I will say in the school performance goal number 1, we are unanimous in our love that our first goal is really thinking about how we build positive cultures in our schools, not just for students, but families. Especially at the elementary level, it's not just about supporting students, it really is working with families to get kids to school, to help sort of set the tone for the education in Beverly. And so that is something that we're really proud of. I think we all have great cultures, but I think we all will feel better if we know that every one of our students and families sees our schools as a place for connection. For school performance goal number 2, we're really just extending off the district the district goal, and again, sort of thinking about the way that we support students and families. This year, adding the City Connects program, and I don't know if I'm going to steal anybody's thunder, but I have to say that we are astounded by the level of supports, the range and the breadth of direct services that we've been able to provide to kids and families this year with the addition of that program. And so we are, and if this is just year one, we are extremely excited for what's going to happen in year two. School performance goal number 3, again, this is going to speak to the cohesion. So now that we have Wit and Wisdom and we have Zern, a lot of the consistency in our language and sort of what we do in our classrooms has really allowed us to think about the goal or think about the practices that we need to deliver those curriculums well and kind of fill in the gaps or add the pieces to make that meet the needs of all of our kids. And so, again, you'll probably hear more about, I know writing will be a big focus for the elementary schools next year. So you'll continue to hear about writing and math. Under school performance goal number 4, that's drilling down from wanting to make sure that we're pushing kids into higher levels of achievement so that we're not always just thinking about our kids to, getting to grade level, but how do we push them to grade level and beyond and having higher levels of kids who are in advanced categories. And school performance goal number 5, Erin Sweeney had just mentioned this with the Green Team. That's been an exciting addition to see that launch at all of our schools this year. Again, just sort of being able to do that together allows those teams to share ideas and bounce and work together. And so seeing our kids sort of take that and run has already created a great impact. So again, we're seeing great things in year 1 and optimistic about years 2 and beyond. Any
Thank you.
questions?
Any questions? It's always great to have our elementary principals work together. They really are an amazing collaborative team, and I think you see that it shows in the achievement of our students and in the sense of creating a second home for all of our kids in each of their buildings. So, do you want to say?
Yeah, I just wanted to say a couple things just in reflection as I see the overall delivery across all 5 schools. One of the things that really strikes me is we have spent the last 2 years talking about high-quality curriculum materials and implementing new programs in our schools. I want to speak specifically to the math because each school in a different way came up and said how in year 3, I think it's year 3 now, they now have enough understanding of the program to be able to pull it apart and match it up and have it align with ST Math, which we know is another core element of our math program. But this implementation of new curriculum is not a one-year thing. You don't come in and put a new program in and have teachers immediately, become experts at doing it. And so kudos to the administrators at the elementary, but also to our teaching staff who have stuck with it and really peeled apart some really large curriculum over the last 3 years. And in particular, the Zern program, we implemented that in the midst of the pandemic. Yeah. And so I think for me, I'm so excited. I love the data around the literacy. I'm super excited about the math data that we're looking at because it really reflects that strong implementation and trajectory over the last 3 years. So I think that's awesome. And it actually just makes me excited to watch the future implementation of the Wit and Wisdom. As you know, I was in a data meeting today and it was finally like, one of the teachers said, I can't wait to come back next year and teach it because I know where I'm going with it and I'm familiar with it and I understand where we are. So I think that was, and then the other thing I can't say enough for the comments that have been made by everyone around our implementation of City Connects and the idea that City Connects really represents to me an MTSS, multi-tiered systems of support for students across all the areas, all 5 focus areas, or 4 or 5, I never remember what the number is, but we don't, not just academic, but making sure family engagement is part of what we look at, health is part of what we look at, and so I was really pleased to hear that. So just it's nice to see it come together and the consistency. So.
And as Lisa's coming up to talk about middle school, I just underscore a key point about we've really tried to emphasize for the teachers that when we're implementing, an implementation process takes 3 years. And we are starting to see that dividend pay off because people are understanding it and making it their own now. And they've done it for 2 core subjects at the same time, which has been a really heavy lift. So very grateful for that. Mrs. Oliver. And we're sending the same message to the middle school as we're starting to implement new
curriculum. Yes. Thank you for having me. Since cohesion is the word of the night, I hope you will see cohesion between our middle school plan and our elementary plan. So looking at our SIP goals, from last year. First being that we were looking at building more community at the middle school and cultivating belonging, promoting equitable practices and elevating student voices, and that respects diversity and engages all of our stakeholders. I'm proud of some of the work that our teachers have done with supporting our peer leaders, our equity club, our school council, our GSA club. We've had a number of student assemblies that have been addressing equity and inclusion. We have really worked on our restorative practices this year and will continue to do that next year. We've had a number of circles with students. Assistant principals have done a lot of them for repair work with students, staff, and each other. We have extended our house system, which was only in grade 6 and is now in grade 5 and 6, and we're looking to bring that up to grade 7 in the fall. Next goal was working on chronic absenteeism. As everybody knows, this is an extreme challenge right now, but we are very fortunate to have a second-year outreach counselor. She meets with the leadership team on a weekly basis, meets with our adjustment counselors, and has many parent communications. We've done more home visits this year than we have since I've been at the middle school. And I think that's really positive to point out because it shows the relationship between our staff and home. Next goal was to increase students in the aggregate for meeting or exceeding for math. So we continue to work on this area. We're in year 2 for grades 6 through 8 for the Reveal curriculum in math. We have added data-driven math exploration blocks, so that happens during our GA schedule, and we've identified students using data, using parent input for what students would participate in these blocks. We have supported more collaborative planning, including vertical planning across the grade levels. We are continuing to use our data to drive instruction, and I'm very pleased to say that we have moved some small group instruction and teacher table work up to our upper school classrooms, particularly in math. Last, we're continuing to build on our MTSS model. One piece that I'm particularly proud of is we had all of our reading teachers trained in Just Words, which is a Wilson Reading Program intervention. We've created new progress monitoring systems, including robust screening measures, and we've added consistent intervention blocks, again, during our GA schedule. And we've had the introduction of City Connects that has been extremely helpful. I know that was talked about at the elementary level, and we're really looking forward to moving ahead with City Connects and expanding their impact at the middle school.
I'm really excited about the expansion of your house system, which has been a huge undertaking, but created such a sense of community.
Yes, thank you. It's been a lot of fun. Kids are looking forward to it, and they have been asking to make sure that we bring it up to grade 7, so we're doing that. All right, summary of accomplishments. So building community. We've had a number of community activities that have been really successful this year. We had the waffle breakfast, Boo Bash. We brought back dances for just about all of our grade levels. We had Winter Wonderland. Again, we've had the extension of the house system, as we've already talked about. We've had an expansion with our intramurals and our student-driven club offerings. And we are continuing with the La Vida field trip for grade 8. And this year, for the first time, we did it at the beginning of the year because it's such team building amongst students. And we're continuing to do that, and we'll do that in the fall for our incoming grade 8. In the area of SEL, again, as I talked about previously, we've really been focusing on restorative practices. We've been exploring a number of alternatives to suspensions for discipline. We've implemented accountability projects, structured days, etc. And then we've continued our practice of our Tier 3 intervention, which is our REACH program for identified students based on data, academic data and social emotional data. We have added advisory in grades 7 and 8 and continue to do our morning meetings in grades 5 and 6. It is not on the screen, but we are continuing with our schedule that we made last year, so it's exciting to not have to go through creating a new schedule again, so we are using the same schedule and just looking to make some minor adjustments and improve upon that. So more summer activities for other things other than scheduling. We have continued our partnership with the NAN project to address mental health and suicide prevention, spelling error there. And again, moving forward with our City Connects, which has been amazing. In the academic realm, ELA, we've piloted Wit and Wisdom this past year. We're looking at more additional pilots that are happening. We are adopting Wit and Wisdom, as you are well aware. We're excited to have that vertical alignment with the elementary buildings. We've been working on STEM and the vertical alignment for STEM across the grade levels in our GA schedule and updating a more cohesive program of studies. We brought back Successful Nature's Classroom. We've gotten a lot of positive feedback for that, so we're excited to continue with that endeavor as we move forward. And learning walks, particularly in math for our upper school teachers, has been successful. Again, we're continuing with our MTS process in both reading and math with progress monitoring and data-driven instruction. And this year, we have completed additional professional development around the science of reading and knowledge-based curriculum as we move forward with our additional pilots. Going forward for the upcoming 23-24 school year, we would like to continue with the goal of creating a strong school community, cultivating belonging, promoting equitable practices, and elevating student voices. We've done a lot of work this year on that goal, but felt that that was something that we could continue improving upon as we go into the next school year. We are looking at strengthening core instruction across content areas and reducing the achievement and opportunity gaps by using culturally responsive, inclusive, high-impact instructional practices. So we're looking again to expand the students that are in the meeting or exceeding grade level standards using our Linkit benchmarks, which, as you know, is aligned with our MCAS predictability levels. Finally, we are looking to build upon, again, our MTS model, and we're looking particularly here at the SEL components. I know I've talked a lot about City Connects, but we're really excited about expanding that program at the middle school. It's made a big impact. It has been predominantly in grades 5 and 7, and we're looking at expanding that into the other grade levels by having our City Connects counselors work with students that they worked with this year and carrying that over into the next grade level, which I think will be really impactful due to the strong relationships that they made with students.
And I think you can see that cohesion.
There's cohesion right there, yes.
And I think with the work that the middle school's done around community, developing relationships, and a broader sense of the use of data, you're going to start to see the achievement levels and what they're able to achieve academically start to soar as well.
Thank you.
Rachel?
Yeah, so one of my questions, with the grades 5 and 6 moving up to 6th and 8th and continuing some of that effort, are we also looking to do the evaluations with the incoming 5th and 7th graders?
Yes.
Okay, so it's an add, not a, okay.
Yes, yes.
Shift.
Shift.
Thank you.
It will remain the same, what we did this year, but we're adding additional.
And adding additional layers.
Yes.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And now I'd like to ask Mrs. Taylor to come and talk about the high school. Well, just, I
7
know it
minutes?
looks like the agenda's long, but the last couple of slides are just quick announcements. So. And remember, we did start a little late, so I've got 4 minutes.
All right, I'll try and take up only 3 of them. Thank you very much.
And I went 4 additional. You don't have to just be 4 minutes.
Do you want me to just keep talking? No, I figured I would be fast. Now I just have to find my place. The first 3 slides we can go over quickly because really that's just a reminder of our original goals for the school improvement plan. The first one was taking a look at data analysis and then implementing interventions. The second one was, you can go to the next one. The second was to create some learner-centered opportunities for, in particular, in areas such as civic engagement and social justice. And the third was to use social emotional learning strategies through school-wide programming and teachers' use of strategies as well. And underneath are the sort of mini goals that we tried to aim at. So if we go to the next slide, I took a look at accomplishments and I did it in the order of the goals. So I think particularly in this first goal of data analysis, we did a really great job this year and have a solid structure that we're going to dig in deeper to next year. I would be remiss if I didn't give recognition to my Director of STEM, Dr. Jennifer Thomas, Director of Humanities, Mr. Paul Casey, all my assistant principals, because they also take departmental work, and Ms. Julie Ferrara, Director of College and Career Planning. They all had a hand in this. First of all, we had staff-wide student learning goals where data analysis was a piece of the goals. We did the creation, administration, analysis of benchmark assessments in 10 high school departments. You've heard about Link It, but some of our departments use portfolio or live performance, such as the music department, but we found a way to put all that data into Link It. And I say 10 departments. The other department, the 11th department, is special education. Of course, they produce their own data within the context of their area, but they also work as co-teachers. So they're also looking at data, sometimes in math, sometimes in English. So I wouldn't say they weren't part of it. It just wasn't the SPED department didn't have to create an assessment. We created professional learning community groups for the English, Social Studies, Math, and Science departments built into the school day during the course of the week. That provided us more opportunity for data analysis and creating benchmarks. We completed common assessments in all 10, again, high school departments, and they were implemented this year, and updated curriculum outlines for English, Social Studies, Math, and the Science departments. So that was in the first goal. The next one, we had staff professional development and data analysis in regard to culturally proficient teaching. We created internship and dual enrollment classes for our Career Pathways program, in particular a partnership with the YMCA and an EMT course. We did a review and redesign of the high school civics projects requirements. That's ongoing, and we're doing it in partnership with the middle school. The students do a civic project in 8th grade, and we're looking at a way to continue and have the students dig deeper with the project instead of creating a new one. The social studies staff members attended workshops at the Center for Holocaust and Genocide Studies at Salem State, and they reviewed to look at how we were going to implement the Massachusetts Genocide Education Act. And that's still ongoing, but they have taken several courses. And we have been mostly under the auspices of Julie Ferrara taking a look at data in regard to equity in course selections. And in the last goal, we continue to implement the PRAL self-regulation protocols that were designed by a teacher committee and use them within the course of the advisory. A revision of curriculum with the English department with the selection of culturally diverse new texts and materials, which the CISL committee had approved. I can't, like everyone else, the partnership between City Connect's counselor and the sophomore teams was very valuable because we looked at really strong on student support. We feel real confident about next year because we took the data the freshman team could share about what they knew about the freshman class, and have already shared that with the sophomore classes, and then we'll continue from there. So that's a shout out to Megan Sudak and also our counselor at the high school, Ms. Carla Femino. And the staff professional development, we had several different faculty meetings which centered on culturally responsive classroom practices, in particular taking a look at unconscious bias and also implementing some equity walks. So for next year, now, I'm not going to be here, so I've already talked to Mr. Thomas. This isn't my idea. This is Mark Thomas, where he's going next. We're going to be continuing with increasing staff capacity for data analysis by using data this time to take a look at other assessments that we use in the classroom and seeing if they're effective. Teachers will use faculty planning time and grade level time to embed UDL, universal design strategies to improve classroom for all students. So it's really looking at specific strategies for teachers to implement next year. Review and redesign of the high school advisory program to include student supports such as restorative practices and academic support. So we're taking a look at restructuring that in the course of our schedule and providing more opportunities, not just for what we already do, which is college and career planning, some SEL, certainly things like course selection, but also taking a look at ways that we can support students social emotionally, have them a chance to address topics and get support on issues that are important to them, and then a way to also get more reinforcement of academic help. Implementation of a genocide education DESE grant that Paul Casey obtained to provide staff training on culturally responsive teaching. Partnership, and Dr. Chirochek will be speaking about this to the school committee. We have a new partnership with Salem High School to provide further career and career and vocational opportunities for students. So we have our partnership with Essex Tech. We're giving more shop opportunities for our students with Salem High School. And the examination of new curriculum texts for the science and the health and wellness departments will begin next year as well.
Thank you. And stay there for 1 second. Okay. I don't want to let Betty leave without taking, especially at this committee, because it's our curriculum and instruction focus, to thank her for her partnership, and with Sue on my other side, with working with us, and also support for some of our ideas and getting our directors, as you had mentioned, in STEM and in humanities. I really think that the partnership led by you and your administrative team and the teachers over the last 3 years, we've really strengthened the foundation at Beverly High, and I think that you're leaving us. I wish you could stay to see some of the fruits of the labor.
You'd have to tell me about it.
But you still live here in town,
I
so
still live here in town.
And I think that you're leaving the school in a very strong position to really flourish over the next few years.
I appreciate that, and I'm grateful that we do have our two directors, and that I have a great administrative team, and the teachers really dug in and were very flexible in a time of great change. Really, we're willing to take a look at that. So it's a good school.
It is. It's a great school, and it really has benefited from your excellent leadership. And I can't say that enough, and I really do appreciate everything that you've done for us. So, thank you.
All right, and of course, I just clicked out of that and then lost the other slide, so.
And look what everyone's looking at now.
This is my mess. You should see what the brain looks like inside. Do you want to do this
I'd be
one?
happy to.
The After Dark, while I get it back
Well,
up?
actually, we'll just skip that, because I'm going to do that in the
Okay.
next. Just go over
All right.
them. I'm going to do that in the next.
Okay.
I think you were going to talk a little bit about that, but also.
I just wanted to give you
yeah.
a quick update on global studies, our Global Child, which is our elementary program that we have for foreign languages. And it was a very robust program this year. And we had 126 students that participated in session 1. The committee members, you all have this. It was sent out so you can see this. But we had 126 students in session 1, 122 students participated in session 2, and they took 6 different languages. We had ASL, French, German, Italian, Portuguese, and Spanish lessons going on. So that was a very robust program. And then I just wanted to end with, you have a link in your slides to the entire brochure for our summer PD offerings that are going on. And one quote that was on the slide says that unless you try to do something beyond what you have already mastered, you will never grow. And I think one of the exciting parts for us is that last year we offered a very robust professional development offering for the summer, but everybody recovering from COVID, it had been a tough year. Everybody just wanted a break. And so many of the programs that we had put together did not run last year, but I'm very excited to share that 7 of the 8 in-district PD opportunities, and it's not closed yet, yet, but right now, 7 of the 8 one-credit courses will run. We have 17 different options, either opportunities or connections to outside vendors for teachers and paraprofessionals to earn PDPs or CEUs. That was one feedback that we got a lot from our nurses and sometimes our counselors. They have to get CEUs, which are units of professional development study, and we hadn't really offered that in the past. We do have multiple offerings for them this summer, and we have some very specific opportunities for our nurses, which we have not been able to offer before, and they're out of Northeastern University, and also Boston Children's Hospital is offering quite a few options for courses in SEL, mental health, and wellness. And then I wish that I had my last slide, because it just shows everybody that was a committee member for us this year, including our school committee members, our student reps, which we thank for. They had some of the best updates that we've had since I've been here. And I thank Ms. Twombly for that, because she really helped to coordinate our middle school students in how to write and then present for the public. And of course, our parent reps, which we value the time that they give up once a month to help us to keep a course and a direction for Beverly that is best for our children. And it just ended with a heart, and as you know, the hands were one of our symbols for this year, so it's all different hands, and it says, volunteers, they don't necessarily have the time, they just have the heart, and we just wanted to say thank you for all of the time you gave us. And lastly, just reminding everybody to come to the high school tomorrow night from 5:30 to 7 for our Showcase of Learning, which you'll be able to see in action. Some of the things you heard about tonight, you can see in person. And we will have pre-K through the high school represented, as well as our middle school strings, high school chorus, and high school jazz band. So thank you. And with that, we can have a motion to adjourn.
Thank you so much. A motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, well, okay.
Or I'll second that motion.
Okay, that works too. And then I
That
have,
motion being made and seconded, Ms. Abel, can you call a roll?
yeah, I'll call the roll. Allison Driscoll,
Yep.
Kate Twombly,
Yes.
Karen Robinson.
Yes.
Rachel Abel, 4-0, Miss Wilson.
Happy summer, everybody.
Thanks. Thank you, everyone, for your patience this evening. As I mentioned, as you were coming in, we had 3 meetings this evening stacked up, and we have so many recognitions this evening. I would love for us to get started. Welcome to the Beverly School Committee, regular school committee meeting for Wednesday, June 14th, 2023. We are still using a hybrid remote option. We have just a couple of people joining us on the remote platform. We are allowed to do this from the permission of the former governor and this current governor and legislature. I'm going to skip a lot of this, but we are also thankful to BevCam for streaming us on YouTube tonight, as well as broadcasting us on Channel 99. And you get an award for that, I guess, from, yes. As a note, Beverly, I know, I was waiting for it. I'm like, how close? As a note, Beverly also has prior permission from our Attorney General to have remote participation, although in those cases, the chair and a quorum needs to be physically present. I would note we do have a quorum this evening. We are missing Dr. Silva and Dr. Kenan Mackenzie DeFranza this evening, but we have all 5 of us in person, which means we can actually vote without the roll for most of tonight's action items. We are also joined by many members of our district administration and leadership teams, and then of course all of our fine educators and our friends at Beverly Education Foundation. So I'll just do a quick roll call. On our online platform, we are joined by one of our, is she still a math coach, Miss Tompkin, sorry, and Nora Booth is also joining us online. The other members are just BevCam themselves, myself, and Dr. Trocheck. Present in the room, we have Miss Lerna Visnick.
Here.
Miss Kimberly Coelho.
Here.
Miss Karen Robinson.
Here.
Going around the table, I'm Rachel Abel. We have Mayor Michael Cahill.
Here.
Our student representative, Delia Gauker. Our executive secretary, Donna Bergeron. Superintendent Sue Trocheck.
Here.
Special Ed Director Bethany Splansky. Here. Dr. Andre Morgan.
Here.
Aaron Brown.
Here.
Megan Sudak.
Here.
We have Jean Sherburne, our Director of Finance. Principal Betty Taylor. I can't even see everybody that's here now. Principals Julie Smith, Amy Blanchard, Megan Hart, Aaron Sweeney, Dr. Flaherty is here. Okay, I'm going to stop there. There's a lot of people here. Okay. Yes, too many people. And then those that are participating at home, I just remind you to keep your mute on so no background noises are accidentally recorded as BevCam is recording us. With that, it's always a challenge to pick someone to say our Pledge of Allegiance. And I know I got our student rep last time, so she's already been put on the spot. I'm going to ask Ms. Neris, since she's directly in front of me. You get to lead the pledge this evening.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. Okay, the first item on our agenda is actually to welcome Doug Walker and Anna Green from the Beverly Education Foundation up to the podium, if you wish. We are always so grateful. Okay. If we could invite Beverly Education Foundation, Doug Walker and Anna Green to the podium. We are always so grateful this time of year when the Beverly Education Foundation grants our teachers and our parents who write grants. Oh, the whole gang. Great.
I have to push it.
Just leave it green. It's mostly for BevCam to pick up our voices, so you can speak to the audience if you want.
Good evening. Thank you very much for having us here.
Doug and I are very happy to be here at the end of the school year and our 25th year in existence. We have had an amazing year. We're so happy with the grants that we're going to hand out this evening. I think that they show such dedication from the teachers and the staff that have put this together. I'd like to just quickly let you all meet our board here. Come on up. Come on up. Yeah, no, just introduce yourself.
Hi, Andy Cooper, Treasurer, Beverly Education Foundation. We can't hear anything.
In school. Liz Champa, citizen member? Is that what I am this year? Okay.
Ann Gavin, representative for Beverly High School. Liesl Hacker, representative from Hannah Elementary.
I'm Natalie Palmersheim, representative from Cove Elementary.
Sarah Aiello from Ayers representative.
Hi, Tara Fitzpatrick, North Beverly representative.
We're missing a couple of others. One is our clerk, Catherine Barrett, who is home recovering. There's also a couple of people. Mike Osborne from Centerville couldn't make it, nor could Nicholas from BMS. So I'm going to let Doug start off with the few words and some of the grants he's going to hand out.
I just want to say thank you for having us here tonight. It's always a pleasure to come here and to do this. And I just also want to thank all of the retiring teachers. I wish I were in your shoes. I think I have about 5, 6, 10 more years. I'm not sure. To start, I'd like to start with one of the district grants. This one is one of our favorites. We've been supporting this initiative for a number of years. This is the continued support for the one-to-one laptop initiative, which also includes a 20% subsidy and support for hardship. And this, we usually give this to Judy Miller and Stephen Palomo, if Steve's here. Do you want me to run into my other ones? Yeah. The next one I have here is a pretty special one. I sat in on a meeting about this, and it was just blown away by the idea and just the support that it gives to a good chunk of the students here. The title of this is An Intro to AAC. Which, so if you don't know what AAC is, that's Augmented or Alternative Communications through picture books. This is for a segment of the population that really is working towards communicating at a higher level. This grant was written by Stephanie Gagnon and Bethany Splansky, if they're here. Thank you so much. Thank you. And the last grant that I'm giving is for the Beverly Middle School. And so we're really happy to be able to support the Beverly Middle School with this grant. It's called Partnering with Parents to Support School Engagement. This grant was submitted by Teresa Guillaume, the outreach counselor here, and Kate Twombly, the assistant principal. And it's going to be used to build a resource library, both hard copy and digital books to support the Beverly Middle School parent-guardian community. This is really important because it will help aid in managing complex mental health needs which impact students, their attendance, and their performance. So I'd like to really thank Teresa and Kate for writing this. It's a wonderful project. Thank you.
Andy Cooper. And the grant I'm honored to hand out is, it was written by Megan Sudak. It's Character Building Initiative for First Grade. So really, focused on the young, starting out. And Megan Sudak, who's the City Connect program manager, put it together and coordinated it. And one goal, we have 14 of these, so I'm going to be pretty quick. One goal that caught my eye was be kind, be strong, be well. So thank you, Megan.
So, in the spirit of this grant, bienvenidos, welcome. We welcome diversity in our district, in our schools. Myself, in my district where I work, my Spanish has gotten muy bueno. Estoy confuso con las palabras italianas y francesas. I tell my students, please help me. And then they say, yes, miss. So what I love about this grant is that it's in line with everything that we stand for here, to be a welcoming district. It's with great pleasure that we, the Beverly Education Foundation, fund Sandoval's Foundational Skills Workshops for EL. You don't know, English learners, kindergarten, and newcomers, of which we have hundreds and hundreds in many of our surrounding districts, okay? And more coming to Beverly, and we need to welcome them. First grade families project in the amount of $1,300.45. This project will provide EL families of kindergarten and first grade students with literacy materials and strategies to guide their children's learning while building relationships with the families. This is awesome, and this was written by, yes, my twin daughter's teacher, Miss Margie Roy, and Ms. Smith, principal. Are you here? Come to give it to you. And thank you. So much, both of you. Yes, thank you. Good to see you again. Thanks.
Hello. The first grant that I am presenting was proposed by Alex Thompson, who is the AIRS math coach, and it's called Promoting Number Sense and Math at Home. This grant will benefit all of the AIRS students, grades K through 4. The goal is to encourage math practice at home in the same way that at-home reading and literacy are encouraged. And my favorite part about this was with the shift in the way math is being taught, many families are unsure how to support their children with homework and stuff like that because it's very different than how we were taught. So with this grant, every family will receive a math toolkit with materials and instructions to promote playing math games at home. AIRS will offer family math nights to support families in implementation at home, and weekly memos will offer families tips, activities, and games. Is Alex here? Oh. Okay, and the second grant proposal was made by Erin Foley, the Title I reading interventionist, and Nora Booth, the AIRS literacy coach. This grant, called Promoting Literacy, is a continuation of a BevEd funded grant from last year. And that grant allowed AIRS to build a library of decodable texts for all of the AIRS students, again, K through 4. And the decodable texts have been a wonderful tool for our developing readers. However, many upper elementary students found their content to be geared toward younger students. And so, because motivation is an important factor in learning to read, this grant will allow for the addition of 30 new decodable sets that are specifically, whose topics and content are specifically geared toward our upper elementary students. So are Nora and Erin here?
They're joining online and through the chat. They're expressing their thanks.
All right, next up is Cove. So the first of my 2 grants tonight is for funding Family Math Night. This was submitted by Heather Colton, our Cove math coach. And the goal of this project is to be able to host fun, engaging, educational math events that kind of elicit family participation and generate excitement and confidence in math. And by hosting family math nights, we provide opportunities for families to engage in these activities together and will enrich student growth. And by purchasing these kits, Cove will own them. We don't have to, go out every year and purchase, someone coming in, a consultant coming in. So we'll be able to keep them and use them for future math nights and hopefully, continue to grow that activity. So we believe that this will promote, family engagement to student learning and build that strong family-school partnership that we're all longing for. So I'd love to present this grant to Heather Colton. All right, and then the next one is for a decodable text for striving younger students. I think this was mentioned a little bit earlier. We had a couple BevEd grants last year for these decodable texts, and we've found them to be very beneficial. So these decodable texts are for students that need reinforcement with more common words, mostly for English to at-risk, or ELL, struggling readers, and special ed populations. And the purpose of these decodable texts is really just getting students up to their reading level. They're written especially for readers who require extra support and have high interest series to engage that reading success and build confidence. So the goals of this grant is to increase the special education staff at Cove's knowledge of why these connected texts are important for building these foundational skills and advanced decoding skills. And so with this grant, Cove School will purchase a series of these books that will serve as that bridge between the beginning reading material and our standard texts. So I'm very excited to present this grant to Heidi Moran, our literacy coach. Or Erin Sweeney.
Hello. Next up is Beverly High School. I have two grants. The first one is Mrs. La Rochelle from the Science Department wrote this grant. It is called the Green Team Recycled Plastic Bench. The BevEd crew was very excited about this grant because not only was it student-driven with Mrs. La Rochelle, but they are going to, I know I'm not sure who to look at, but they are going to team up with the rest of the schools in our district and companies in the community because they are going to be collecting bottle caps. They're going to need 50 pounds of them, which you can imagine is going to take a lot of bottle caps, but she's already networking with other science teachers that are currently here tonight. So we're hoping it's a pilot and that other schools may take it on, once the first 50 are collected. But I wanted to present this to Mrs. La Rochelle, who's here tonight. And our second one, BevEd is excited to continue to support the Beverly High School and the Peabody Essex Museum. This is a grant that is written by Lauren Aruda from the art department. It supports the AP Studio Art students. It is kind of a deep dive into the PEM and getting into in-depth interactive study with different specific areas and collections, and it's really special. It's really special, and they get so much out of it. Lauren isn't here tonight, but I'm hoping that I can hand it to Mrs. Taylor and get it to her. Thank you.
Maybe I'll just do this. That way I can see everybody. So yes, I'm here to present Hannah with 3 grants tonight, which is very, very exciting. The first one was submitted by Jennifer Barretto and is for Hannah Ready. It was called Hannah Readiness, and these are kindergarten readiness kits that will be distributed to all incoming kindergartners. That we know that they all come in from different places, different experiences. So this gives them some tools such as magnetic letters, scissors, books, Play-Doh, dominoes, and dice. And then the staff will demo to parents how they might use these kits to help prepare their kindergartners as they enter Hannah. So yeah, I would love to present this to Jennifer. Then the next one is was submitted by our amazing science teacher Seton Wood, and it's a Hannah PVC piping exploration. I'm just so sad because, well, he can probably hear me back there, but I have a fourth grader, and I'm just really sad he's not going to be able to take advantage of this, because this would be, well, actually, maybe it's good, because he'd probably be there every day, all day, using the PVC piping. But he wants to buy a bunch of pipes and joints and couplings to develop different projects such as marble mazes, roller coasters, water engineering, and I really use them to solve real world problems. And I think what's great about these is that they can be taken apart, reused again and again and again for multiple purposes, not only throughout the year, but for multiple years. So I am very happy to present this to Seton. Will come back and lead a class. I do have a kid, and a rising first grader too, who will love it. And then last but not least, who's not here tonight is our also amazing art teacher, Alyssa Chambers, because she's taking a ballroom dancing class with her husband, which in my eyes just makes her even more cool. So we have a space issue at Hannah when it comes to displaying art, and we haven't been able to have like a full school art show for a long time because we haven't had the right setup for that. So she submitted a proposal to get these very, very large display tables. Oh no, did I kick something and do something? Oh, okay, phew. All right. It's like, I thought it was me. I was like, I kicked something and I'm like, okay, it was excitement. Okay. Should I pause or should I keep going? Okay, I'll keep going. So these display panels, very large display panels, actually they've already been ordered and come in because this is a collaborative project. There's 3 of them. The PTO purchased one, the 4th grade gave one as a gift, and then BevEd is supporting the purchase of one. So they've already come in, and the treasurer got a call from Julie Howell, who's the administrator, who was like, you got a package. I think it's a refrigerator. Turns out it's just very large art display panels. And then they're also going to be used for backdrops during music concerts and for many different things. So I will maybe give this to Jennifer again to pass on to Alyssa. And then I have the honor of presenting a district-wide award to Abigail Sykes, who is also a friend of mine. So this is also very exciting. But this, and I think what's great about this initiative is that it started at Hannah. So I'm really proud of the fact that she initially submitted it as a parent proposal to start. It's called Hooray for Health. And now, given her role in the district, she is able to push this district-wide. And it's a nutrition health education program designed to help students understand how their bodies work, learn skills to support whole body health, positive body image, and good nutrition practices. It really combines a bunch of different disciplines: PE, health, science, social studies, SEL. And it's so fun to see pictures of kids eating things that they've never eaten for the first time, and learning about the way that their systems in their body work. So I'm really excited that this is going to continue district-wide and present to Stabby.
Just gonna copy Lisa. She's our problem solver, our solutions person. Where do I start? So I'm gonna get in trouble here because I have a Lauren and a Laura, but I'm gonna hopefully do this right. So I have the pleasure to present a grant to teacher librarian extraordinaire Laura Brosnan. So this is district-wide. I'm a librarian and I'm in a library, so I guess it's just super appropriate for me to be presenting this. Also, I was super excited when I saw it come through. So this is for the library diversity audit for the elementary school libraries. This is essential. Like when I saw this, I was, yes, this is essential work to ensure our school libraries collections are better developed and support awareness and inclusion. We're very excited for our students to get reading, and my son's in 3rd grade, so he gets to benefit and enjoy it. So come on up, Laura. So the next grant I have is for North Beverly, and it's for Lauren Benson, and she's not here. She's either running kickball or a hiking club, or she's running a spring carnival in the rain. No, she's at the Red Sox for North Beverly night. Again, she's a very, very committed parent. She probably has a mailbox, right, Amy? Okay. She's at the Red Sox, hopefully, probably in a rain delay, unfortunately. But hopefully they're having a good time. Knowing Lauren, they are. So I'm here to present a grant to Lauren Benson, parent at North Beverly, who collaborated with the Green Team teachers, Mr. Anderson and Mrs. Young, on a grant for the North Beverly Pollinator Garden. The Green Team is committed to saving the local habitat, and through this project, they'll be collaborating on hands-on work while learning about science and the environment. They're going to present info to their community, so they're going to be doing creative writing, artwork to disseminate information to get this more known throughout the community. And they're going to be doing engineering, they're going to be building. So these students get to really do hands-on work, and it's a great project for our school and our environment. So congrats to Lauren.
This last grant presentation is to Cynthia Santuso, who is here, Principal Julie Smith from Centerville Elementary School. And this, again, is also a kindergarten readiness kit. And what she put in here was that readiness is so essential. And what they're going to include in these kits for all of these families are things that maybe you have, maybe you don't, but they help kids in terms of fine motor skills. They help them with fluency of language. They help them with all the things that you have to do when you are present at kindergarten. I mean, we might not think it's such a big deal, but it's really a huge deal. And I think that these kits are just a wonderful way to help get set so that teachers know what their students are like. So I'm very pleased to present this to you, Cynthia. Thank you very much for your wonderful work. Doug and I are going to be attending an event tomorrow evening. We are going to be at the Cummings Foundation because the Beverly Education Foundation, if you haven't heard, and see, I get it up on TV now. The Beverly Education Foundation was chosen for a Cummings Foundation grant. And the grant is for 10 years of funding for $30,000 each year. We've met with Dr. Trochuk. We're going to be meeting with Dr. Morgan as well. There's going to be a lot of different things that we're going to do. And we're so excited to come into the 25th, end of the 25th year with this ability to impact perhaps just a little bit more, to do a little bit more for our kids, for our students to be further down the way. And the other thing that the lion part of this grant is for teachers, the support of you all, because without you, we're not going to do very well. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
And thank you so much. I know the district always appreciates your visits and the careful attention that you pay to each and every one of the requests. So thank you so much. We'll take a 5-minute recess real quickly while we can thank our friends from BevEd, and then we will get to the rest of our recognitions. Okay, we are back, and we appreciate all of our friends at BevCam. Now I'd like to ask for Dr. Churchick's help as we recognize our retiring educators.
All right, awesome. So thank you very much. This is a very exciting opportunity for us tonight to recognize our retiring employees. So I'm going to start. First of all, we did have a number of people who are retiring this year. So I'm going to read through for those people that aren't here so we can recognize them in their service that they had, and then we'll recognize the folks that have been able to join us here tonight. So we have a number of staff members who have, and when I look at the number of years of service combined, it's overwhelming, almost awesome. So Mickey Corbett, recognized for 22 years of service. Mickey is a para, and she has been, I think, at the high school primarily, so 22 years of service. Patricia Dupre, 19 years of service, also at the high school, a science teacher, I believe. Linda Harrington, 16 years of service, and I think Linda right now is a para in our preschool program. Karen Joden, who left in the beginning of the year, and Karen had 22 years of service. She served at the middle school as an ELA teacher in grade 6, I think mostly grade 6 the whole time. Lori McDonough, 19 years of service. Lori, I think, spent some time as a music teacher as well as a pre-K teacher, and then back as a music teacher at Cove School. Diane Moffett, who I served with at the Air School for quite a bit of time, 24 years of service. And Diane, I think, spent this last year as a special ed teacher, but was primarily a kindergarten teacher and second grade teacher through most of her years. Mercine Perry, who is a paraprofessional, 11 years of service, and I believe she's at Centerville right now. Susan Richardson, 7 years of service, who I believe served as a special education teacher at the high school. Mary Beth Rodolico Linsky, 29 years of service, one of our high school teachers. And Julie Zeff, actually also worked with Julie Zeff at the Edwards School, which really shows how long I've been here. And Julie Zeff is retiring as a 4th grade teacher at the Cove School now. And I know she's been in a couple of different schools throughout her service. So we really thank them for the service and the work that they've done. And now we have people who are here in person who we get opportunity to recognize. First, I'd like to recognize Brenda Arsenault, 35 years of service. I think she wins. No, she doesn't win the prize, Carol. Lynn wins the prize. Sorry, you don't win no prize for you today. But I also want to mention, I've had the pleasure of working directly with Brenda. She serves as the vice president of the union, and we meet monthly in our mutual concerns. And I particularly respect all the time that you come to the table and your willingness to talk and look for real problem solving, and in particular, the work that you've done and the impact that you've had on all of our students. So thank you so much for your service. I'm going to save the prize winner for a minute. We also have Jennifer Nearis, and Jen is here. I had an opportunity to speak with her just before we began the presentation here tonight. I had the pleasure of attending your last concert at the middle school. It was amazing, the tribute from your students, from the staff there, for everything that you've done. Jen has given 21 years of service, always in the role, I think, of choral teacher at the middle school. I know there are so many middle school students who have appreciated everything that you've done for them, and we appreciate everything you've done for our music program and everything that you've done for all of us. So thank you so much.
And I echo that. I have a couple of students in my
And our teacher with the prize-winning 38 years of service, Lynn Palanin, Carolyn Palanin-Kudlik. Lynn, thank you for being here tonight, and we thank you in particular. And I also know there was a wonderful celebration for you this past Saturday night. The stories that I keep hearing about that celebration, people who have come back, songs that were sung, I believe, by Mrs. Taylor. I'm looking for the TikTok, YouTube of that one. Really, really in recognition of all the work. I think that we do this every year. We stand here and we recognize teachers. I don't know that we've had the opportunity to see as many of you here in person that have had just such a strong impact on who we are as a community, who the Beverly Schools are. Sometimes I joke that we're the Beverly Musical School of the Arts, but it's really true, and it really is a pleasure to honor you and to thank you for your service and everything that you've done. And we certainly hope the best for you, and we know that we'll be carrying on because we know that we've got a good plan in place. We talked about that the other night. So again, for Lynn, thank you so much. We appreciate it. And last but not least, another 38 years of service. You must come in together, the two of you? Really? Oh, my goodness. So I already gave my speech about Betty the other night. So those of you that were there already heard it. I don't know. I don't know what I can say more than Betty. Really, I thank you personally as a friend and as you're a mentor for me. I appreciate everything that you've done for us. Would you come up here so I don't have to turn around? Little known fact, maybe, or maybe more widely known, Betty and I started as undergrads together at 18 years old at Regis College. I say this often, but Betty may be more typical Regis student than I am, but we worked together along the way. Your leadership at the,
I don't know what that means.
Oh, you do. Yes, you do. Yes, she really does know what that means. But I said this and I mean this, the leadership that you've brought. When I looked through your folder, when I saw your accomplishments as a teacher, the contributions that you made to the drama program at Beverly High School, as an English teacher, and as an assistant principal, and more importantly as principal, the leadership that you've had for all of our students and for our community over these past years has really made an impact on so many of us, and I really do appreciate everything that you've done.
I appreciate that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Another 3-minute recess?
Can we stand for our education?
Yes, we should, indeed. Round of applause. we'll do another quick 3-minute recess. BevCam, thanks. Okay, we still have a lot on our agenda this evening, and we've been keeping our student representative, not that she doesn't have finals starting tomorrow at the high school. Good luck to you. I'm sure you've already studied. If we could have the student report from our student representative to the school committee, Delia Geiger. Gauger. Okay. I'm going to spell that out phonetically because I am terrible with the student names. I am so sorry. Thank you.
So at the high school right now, all spring sports have wrapped up their seasons. Registration is open for fall, and student athletes are looking forward to next year. Sports teams and the music and arts programs have held or are holding end-of-year banquets. Today was our last day of classes for the year. Tomorrow we'll start finals. Our finals schedule works where students have 2 finals scheduled per day and then an opportunity for makeup or extra help in the afternoon. The graduation of the class of 2023 was held on June 4th at Beverly High School. The day after that, we welcomed the class of 2027 into the building. I helped participate in the tours for the freshmen, and it was nice to, when one class left, to kind of welcome the next class in. All 4 grades held their dances this past month. I heard a lot of them. I was at the freshman semi, and I heard a lot of the others were very fun. Freshmen and sophomores completed MCAS, and students completed AP tests. AP meetings for next year are getting started now or have already happened. And then one other thing I just wanted to add was that we had our Pride flag raising ceremony at Beverly High last week. So, and we also had a day of silence. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that report, and thank you again for your patience as we get to the third agenda item this evening. You are free to go home and finish up whatever you need to finish up for those finals, and best of luck. Thanks. Okay. Next agenda item, we have a couple of sets of meeting records to approve. The budget hearing minutes and the school committee minutes from the 10th of May. We'll take them individually. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Okay, for the budget hearing, I heard, is it Ms. Visnick and Mayor Cahill? That's the way my ears worked that time. Were there any edits or corrections for the budget hearing minutes? Not seeing any. All those in favor of approval? We have 5-0. Now, a motion to approve the regular school committee minutes.
I'll prove it.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Coelho.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson. Were there any edits or corrections to this set of meeting records? Not seeing any. All those in favor? 5-0. Okay. Now we're starting to move with a little bit more speed. We always offer the opportunity at our regular school committee meetings for an open forum for resident voice, for input to agenda-related items, or even items that are not on our agenda. As published in our agenda this evening, there's also the option to email in advance any thoughts that someone might wish be read into the record. That email address is residentvoice@beverlyschools.org. We do appreciate if you send those thoughts before 7 p.m. so that we have an opportunity to check our emails before we start these meetings. At this time, I don't believe we have anyone signed in, and we did not receive any emails. Okay. Moving right along, we have items by consensus. The agenda outlines items A, B, C, and D. Those are warrants in various amounts. I'm looking for a motion to collectively approve these warrants.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Visnick.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson. I don't think that we need any explanation. All those in favor? That's just us paying our bills. Okay. Next are some school committee chair updates. Just wanted to remind everyone that we have the Showcase of Learning tomorrow evening. It is at the high school this year. It starts at 5:30. It runs till 7 p.m. There'll be musical selections as well as a showcase of our students from pre-K all the way through grade 12. So if you have the opportunity, I know there are a lot of events happening tomorrow evening, but that would be one that I would encourage you to try to swing by. It's always wonderful to get an opportunity to be with our students. And then I dropped this in an email just before we came over to this meeting. There are a number of opportunities that MASC provides us. MASC is the Massachusetts Association of School Committees, to enhance our understanding of our roles in the community. There's actually a lunch and learn this Friday at noon. It's about goal setting. I have enrolled in that, and I'm looking forward to participating. I just wanted to call out. I actually think MASC sent a list to everyone today, so if you're not receiving those emails, we can troubleshoot that to make sure you also receive it, because they have the links in those emails. They're also offering Charting the Course, which is the entire spectrum of all the things that school committee members need to be aware of. It's an 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. course, and I happen to notice it's going to be at Essex North Shore Agriculture and Technical School. I know a few of us who've been around for a while did attend Charting the Course there, and their culinary department spoiled us. So I can't guarantee the culinary department's been brought on board, but if Charting the Course is something that you're interested in doing in person, I'm sure they have a few extra seats, and they would love for one or all of us to enroll. There's also the famous 70 Minutes on Chapter 70 upcoming in June. So do take an opportunity to look at all of the available courses that are available. Some of them are online. There is one that's an actual overnight that is going to be happening out in Marlborough. It's called the MASC Summer Institute. That seems interesting. You can get some details. And then they've opened up early bird registration for the joint conference with the Mass Association of Superintendents and School Committee members. It's actually falling on Veterans Day weekend, so it looks like they've shortened that Saturday portion is no longer a part because that's actually Veterans Day this year. So we'll be running from Wednesday, November 8th, which is the day after our municipal election, through Friday evening, November 10th. We can coordinate how many registrations we might want to send from Beverly. They have a theme this year of investing in equitable school districts, moving from theory to practice. They've already started to announce some of the keynote speakers and some of the topics that will be explored. I've attended for a number of years. It's always very valuable, as well as an opportunity to network with other school committee members from across the state. With early bird registration, it's non-refundable, but we can transfer it amongst ourselves if something pops up later that makes this not a date that will work for you. So just take a moment after this to put things on your calendar that interest you and to consider the early bird registration, since we will save money. I think that's it from the chair. Thank you, Dr. Turchek.
I don't have a lot of slides this evening, but I do have just a couple items on the agenda. First, we'll hear about an overnight field trip request. Just a quick update on graduation, and then this is not true. I'm not talking about solo work to begin. I'm going to be talking about our expanded. I might have the wrong one open. Hold on one second. I got to check something here. I might have the wrong report. Nope, I do. I have it. Just didn't change that. Okay. So the first thing that we have is an overnight field trip. The superintendent recommends the approval of a proposed overnight field trip to the University of Connecticut Model United Nations Conference in Storrs, Connecticut this year on November 3rd through the 5th, 2023. And Julia and Allison are here to share with us and answer any questions.
Hi. Hello. Good evening. So we're here asking for permission to take up to 12 students next year to the Model United Nations Conference hosted by University of Connecticut. We will leave Friday the 3rd, return Sunday the 5th, which I just looked up is also daylight savings, so we should be nice and chipper for Monday. Trying to think what else. Go. So we'll be staying at a Holiday Inn Express nearby. There's a shuttle that runs back and forth to the campus. We're estimating if we take, depending on the number of students attending, it'll be approximately about $250 per student. And we also will provide need-based scholarships if necessary. One of the things we do to try to lower the cost is we will ask parent chaperones to help drive and shuttle students down with us if possible, and do a little caravan back and forth. And I welcome any questions you might have.
I will just add that the last time we did this trip was 2019. It was right, so it's been a while. We went to Brown last year, so that was our first overnight conference in several years.
And New York was a success too. That was
yes,
yeah.
and New York was a success, and also I feel like just to say that Model UN has kind of bounced back post COVID. That we have a strong group of kids and lots of enthusiasm.
They were asking if there was a meeting next Tuesday.
Yeah, no.
I appreciate the enthusiasm.
Right.
Finals come first.
Would you like to make a motion and then ask a question? Go ahead.
I move we approve this trip.
Second. Thank you, Mayor Cahill. Thank you, Ms. Robinson. Okay, go ahead, Mayor Cahill.
Sure. Want to make sure we give you a question or two since you've stuck around. One, thank you for your willingness to do this. Two, just out of curiosity, at what point in the preparation do you and the students learn, how they'll be assigned, what countries they will represent, and then just a little bit about what they'll be expected to be ready to present and debate and discuss on?
Sure. So when we register for the conference, which we already did, we put down our committee preferences. And then when we pay, that's when they'll give us our committee assignments. But I don't expect to get those till probably late September.
Yeah.
And so then we go through a process in a club meeting of assigning those to assigning each position to each student. And we know our students well enough that I knew, like, oh, let's apply, I'm going to check off the historical committee because we have so-and-so who's really interested in historical committees, so probably she'll take that one, I assume so. And there are other ones that we kind of look at, they tell us the topics ahead of time, and I can't remember any of the topics, but I know there's Commission on the Status of Women. Actually, the historical committee next time is on Florence in the 1400s, I think. So, but I know there will be a student who really wants to do that, so good for her. So anyway, so then we'll assign the positions, and then they have a week or two to prepare it, and then they write a rough draft of a position paper, and we give them, the new kids, we give a lot of guidance on how to write a position paper, and then we split them up, they send them to either of us, and we write a lot of feedback on them at home, and then we send them to them, and then they work on their final drafts. And then we require them to have those papers before we go to the conference, because that can often be their first speech, and it just gives them a better understanding of what it is they're going to be saying in committee. It gives them a lot more confidence to know their position, which they're forced to do by writing those papers.
And I'm not sure about this conference too. I know that most don't allow tech during the committees
Right.
themselves, so to have that paper
I don't think
copy.
UConn does, yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
have all those papers ahead of time.
Yeah, no phones or laptops in the committee sessions.
And if I could, just one quick follow-up. So, and in terms of a delegation or a
Mhm.
country that they represent, is the Beverly delegation one country, or do they get split up and working with students from other schools and areas as well?
More often split up.
Yes.
When we went to New York, almost everybody had Peru, right?
Yeah, and they had two delegates were representing one country in a number
Mhm.
of committees, but if I can recall from pre-COVID, I think they represent one delegate, one country in a number of committees.
Right. UConn is what's called a kind of a teaching conference, where they pride themselves on kind of helping kids through the learning the parliamentary procedure process and that sort of thing. So it's always a good one to do in the fall, especially because we expect to get a number of new students, in the club in the fall.
That's exciting. Thanks.
Sure.
There are other questions? Ms. Visnick?
Quick question on, you mentioned shuttling and having parents. So is it, this is maybe a softball for you. Are you making sure that those parents who are going to drive, especially if they're driving somebody other than their own child, that they have the umbrella coverage that is necessary?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll, ask for volunteers and I can't remember the process from last
We
time.
do
It was a couple
we
years
do a
ago.
Corey
Yeah,
check.
Corey check.
So we started doing this the second time we went to UConn, because UConn is particularly hard to get to if you don't drive there. Like, you have to take a bus, and I don't know. It was hours and hours and hours, and we sat in the Hartford bus station forever. So the next time we were like, wait a minute, isn't there some other way to do it? Can we get parent drivers? And so we got permission from Mrs. Taylor, and then we did the Corey check, and so we've done that 3 times maybe now, and it's been quite successful.
Awesome. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, all those in favor? Enjoy the trip.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
All right, and just a shout out. I wanted to take an opportunity to recognize the administration at the high school. Across the Commonwealth this year, graduations were being pivoted and changed and challenged, and the weather was, always so suspect. We didn't know whether we'd be having it indoors or outdoors, and I know other communities shifted it from 7 to 5 p.m. or from the opposite, from 7 p.m. to noon, and there were a lot of changes. I think, a real congratulations to our high school staff for, waiting as long as they could to make that determination, making the determination in setting up what turned out to be a really very well done and very, really well run graduation for our students. The graduation is always one of the best events of the year. It's great to see students, and it was really, I think, a real testament to the work that was put into the planning for that. So I just wanted to take a minute today to congratulate our students who have graduated, but also just a little thank you to the, I know personally, because we were doing a lot of texting on Saturday morning and Saturday afternoon, the amount of, that went into the decision. So just a little shout out for that one there. And then finally, this is just an announcement for all of you. I know that we had presentations in the past, and we spent a lot of time and energy thinking about what an After Dark partnership looked like. We set up our partnership with the Essex North Shore Agricultural Technical School. Did I get it right, Megan? Because we've been practicing that. Just in light of the number of students and the interest that we have in pursuing vocational education and our lack of programming that we have in district to be able to provide that for students. We had a large number of students apply for the After Dark program at Essex Tech this year. We had 33 students apply. Essex Tech has run into some financial, concerns about the program they were running. They limited the number of seats that we could have in Beverly to 11. We had 33 applicants, so we were very concerned that we had a great number of students who were looking for that opportunity. Essex Tech is a great. We know we have a great partnership with them, and they have a broad number of offerings for our students. But we really wanted to take a look and do something for students that weren't able to get into the program at Essex Tech. So we began to do some exploration around what else might be available to us. A team of the teachers and administrators from the high school took a field trip over to Salem High, visited their beautiful facilities, which they have recently, put a lot of effort into improving. I think probably COVID money probably helped that a lot. They have a wonderful facility. They don't have as broad a number of offerings, but they have they really had some of the programs that our students were looking for. So we are working very hard with both Salem and the Department of Ed to put together an opportunity for and there are 15 students who remain interested in pursuing a partnership and attending the After Dark program in Salem, we're looking for approval from DESE. We've done our preliminary meetings. It's a matter of now just submitting the applications and getting our authorized as an After Dark partnership. In the area of auto tech, they have an automotive technology, and in health assisting. In medical assisting, there's two. Essex Tech offers health assisting. Salem High offers medical assisting. And we're going to pursue. We don't have students for it this year, but electrical and what's the one? Building and property maintenance is something that they offer. Each one of these programs comes with some credentialing at the end that prepares students either to pursue continuing education in those fields, and in many cases provides them with some form of credentialed certification to begin in the workforce. This required us to consult with the Mass Hire Workforce Labor to make sure that there was a workforce need, to work with Salem High around their program of studies and what would be offered. We're still looking at transportation. That's going to be our biggest area, making sure that we are able to provide in both ways. And we're also pursuing a grant. And so that grant would really bridge us over through the first year. So in essence, once we have the partnership set up, the Chapter 74 funding will come back to Beverly, and so it would essentially end up that it doesn't cost the district more money to send them there, that those costs are covered through Chapter 70 and Chapter 74. So we're very excited about this opportunity. Our students are excited about the opportunity to be able to do that. We're working on setting up an open house for the families and parents to be able to see that facility. We only tapped into those students who had originally expressed interest in After Dark this year because we were sort of late to the game. But we hope to be able to just have this as an expanded opportunity for all of our rising juniors to be able to kind of think about ways to do that. So we're really excited. We're working closely with Dr. Reich over in Salem. They have a wonderful CTE director, Mario Sousa, who, and Megan Sudak has been working on our end in terms of the grant writing, and Mark Thomas and Ryan Wood and a couple of the other team members, are all part of making this come to light. So we're really excited about this opportunity. I just wanted to make sure that you all had just a general sense of what we were doing and why we were doing it. It certainly doesn't mean that we no longer want to, we're going to continue our partnership with Essex Tech, but the lack of seats and the greater interest that we have for students is really what's driving us to look for that expansion. So.
I saw Ms. Robinson first, then we'll go to Ms. Visnick.
Thank you. So you said that the programs that they offer are auto tech, medical assisting, electrical, and building and property maintenance?
Correct.
So, and we only have people interested in auto tech and medical assistant
Well,
right now?
remember, they had originally applied for the programs at Essex Tech. They
Yeah.
were not offering electrical or the other, the building and property maintenance. So
that's a
right.
really good opportunity
It's
for
a great,
electrical.
for expansion. And so we're looking for approval for those programs for the future, but we don't have, no one went through the application process for those programs, and we didn't have we can't prove a need for those, basically, because we don't have anyone that applied for them because we didn't have them offered. But the goal is to set all 4 programs up as After Dark opportunities so that students have that opportunity in the future to look at.
So just remind me, from before, the students who applied before, everybody has been able to get in in the past?
No. Essex Tech has a selection process that they go through, and our original MOU with them had them determining, that application process and who would be accepted, and they also determine the number of seats that they have available, and they determine the pathways that are available. So, at varying years, it began with 5 offerings, it expanded to 6, and now this year there's only 2. So because if you remember, I believe that we had originally talked about it, it's about the availability of space at the tech to be able to offer the program, and their enrollments are increasing, and so they don't have that availability for other programs, and there are a lot of factors, and I can't speak to all of them, but I know that those were some of the reasons that were cited for that. So
Yeah, and I think it's important for us to look at who is getting in.
So yeah, I will say that was one of the driving forces. There is the need for vocational education, or the desire for vocational education, spans a great demographic of our students, and some of the demographic was underserved somewhat, and so in our partnership with Salem, that was one of the areas that we looked at. Salem actually has already employed a lottery entrance for their school. That's not widespread. There's legislation about that. There's lots of discussion about that, but Salem has that, and so it enabled us to. I think, and Megan has done some of the data for the grant, but I think probably 68%.
67% economically disadvantaged, 56 racially minority students, 44 students with disability. This is percentages, sorry, and then 5.6 are English language learners.
So that's the demographics of the students that are going to go to Salem. Oh, sorry, you have to do it again.
Sorry about that. 67% of the students were economically disadvantaged, 56% fall into the racial minority students, 44% were students with disabilities, and 5.6% of those students were English language learners.
So this partnership and expansion has really helped us to make sure that we are able to offer these opportunities to a really broad demographic of our students, and students that have, really expressed an interest in vocational education. So,
well, thank you for doing that. That's great.
Ms. Visnick.
I wish to ask about, I thought we had a non-compete with Essex Tech, and in particular, I think of the programs you mentioned, I know for a fact that Essex Tech has electrical, and that they're always full. There's always very high demand for that, and we get very few of our students into that. So is that why, even though we don't have anybody signed up this year, but you're asking for approval as we move forward for electrical at Salem, is that why we can break the non-compete and offer it?
Yes,
Because
so-
because Essex Tech can't serve us?
Correct. So there's several factors that are that fall into play, and basically, our ability to offer vocational education is limited somewhat by being a member at Essex Tech, except for that there are some reasons that you can petition the commissioner to consider alternatives for you that allow you, and we're not trying to break our partnership. We certainly value our partnership with Essex Tech and all of the opportunities it offers for, the citizens of Beverly, right? But this, the lack of seats, the demand in the labor force, and and just the opportunity, the demand of students. So the number of students asking for that kind of a program, the demand in the labor force for the work that is associated with those disciplines, as well as the availability of seating. Those three factors, when we met with the Department of Ed, those were the three factors that they said, were important. And so in our application for an expanded After Dark, so we're already an After Dark approved program, and I know a lot of people think about that After Dark word, but that is the name that the Chapter 74 gives it, so that we are an approved After Dark member. However, expanding it to a second partnership with Salem High required us to provide a demonstrated need in those areas, and so we definitely were able to do that. And it also, required consultation with Essex Tech. So Heidi is aware that we're expanding and that we were looking at this, and she had to sign off that, that I had consulted. She didn't have to sign off whether I could do it, but she had to, sign off that I had that consultation, along with the North Shore Mass Higher had to sign off that we consulted with them, and that there is a workforce need in these areas, and that the program at Salem High aligns with all of the blueprint that is out there, the regional blueprint for CTE. And so there are a lot of factors. I actually am kind of like glad that this whole thing happened, because I've learned so much more about what Chapter 74 restrictions are, the difference between that and the innovation pathways that we continue to pursue for some of our students, and then other possible opportunities that might be available to Beverly High in the near future as we go forward, as the demand in Beverly for this type of education increases and the availability of opportunities is less. I mean, there were 185 applicants for North Shore for Essex Tech this year, and 59, or I think I recently heard 63, but of students were accepted. So there's an unmet need that we really, it's important for us to be able to provide for our students, and so this is just one more opportunity that we've been pursuing, and really excited about the opportunity. So.
Follow up? Sure.
So speaking of that need, when Heidi was last here, she came to our to our committee. One of the questions I posed was whether we could perhaps do like a satellite campus, right? Whether we could encourage Essex Tech to expand. Her answer was that the people who are learning to build were building a new building, and that was as much expansion as they were going to have. I wonder how much influence we as a sending community and some of our surrounding communities could encourage them to expand. A perfect example is that we could have a classroom over in the shoe. Right? It's easy. The space is there.
Yeah.
You hire another teacher. If the demand is there, there's no reason why we should be turning away, tens and tens of our students who want to do that when the demand is in there.
Right.
So that said, I don't see us doing that. So the question really is, how much influence do we have to try to encourage Essex Tech, or maybe Salem's After Dark is going to fill this need for us, or like is there another option, because we still have a whole bunch of students who are not getting what they want and quote unquote need.
So I actually think what we're focusing on is whether or not there are ways for Beverly to expand within our own school district to be able to offer some opportunities. There are some that, look, craft labor construction may not be something that Beverly's going to be able to pursue, but there are other areas and other pathways. And so we know we've done a lot of work on our innovation pathways. We've just submitted our grant for there is grant opportunities on innovation pathways through the Department of Ed. Sometimes that, and so we have submitted an implementation planning grant that will allow us to explore. I actually met with Paul Manzo, who is our school committee member that represents the Essex Tech, and he helped me review the bylaws, so our bylaws do not restrict us from doing anything. The law is what was restricting us, and the law says, again, the same three factors that the commissioner mentioned. If there's a demand, and if there's a lack of available seats within your region, and if there's a workforce demand, a student demand, and a lack of available seats, that's when the commissioner would think about that. So, I think Betty and Mark and I have met to talk about this a little bit more. I think this opportunity to expand to Salem gives us a bird's eye view as to what could happen within, a high school that really was not originally thinking in this way. What could we do, as well as facility-wise, we would be limited if we're only looking at the campus. But if we look outside the campus, maybe we're not limited in facility, right? And so what would that look like? And so, it's going to take some planning and some investigation, but given the student need and the desire of some of our students. I don't want 180 kids leaving Beverly High School to go to Essex Tech. Personally, I'd rather they stay at Beverly High School. And so what is it that we need to take a look, even though we're a comprehensive high school, what is it that we need, how do we maybe need to look different, and what do we we need to think differently about to be able to provide some of those opportunities. And there are some that we may never get to, but there are, I think, some that we might be able to. So
cool, thanks.
It's just thinking about.
Mayor Cahill.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to point out that the number of eighth graders who applied to Essex Tech doesn't automatically reflect that many kids would have gotten in. We know some were keeping options open and would have chosen Beverly High regardless. We know that some of those kids may not have an interest in the, quote, 11:30 a.m. after dark program once they get to Beverly High, although we know some will, right? So I think the point is there's unmet need that we want to try to address. I just want to make sure that, we don't, that there's not a panic thought in our minds that we've got this flight out of our schools. We don't.
And if I can just interrupt just on that thought, I want to take the opportunity, and I said this at City Council the other night. I do believe that 3 years ago, I was getting questions, why aren't we getting more students in the tech? Or why aren't we supporting career vocational or career thinking in the middle school years so that our kids are thinking about that earlier, so they're prepared to do that? I believe that's what invoked the larger number of applications, not so much that everybody didn't want to go to Beverly High and that they wanted to go to Essex Tech, but we're doing a better job starting in 6th grade, having conversations with students about what career opportunities look like, what do STEM opportunities look like, what do vocational opportunities look like. And so our kids are thinking a little bit more about that, and they're a little more discerning in the opportunities that are available to them. So I think that that's a plus for us. I think that the more we do that, the better our students are prepared to make good decisions about that. And also, the more we need to be prepared to address students and the questions they have and what they're looking for in how we're providing opportunities for them. Our innovation pathways are overlooked, I know, and they're only in their probably 2nd or 3rd full year of real implementation. They offer the same types, and we can strengthen credentialing at the end of those pathways and cooperative learning opportunities. So if you think about some of what vocational tech brings, it's that cooperative learning at the end of the program. So everybody doesn't want to be an auto tech, right? And everybody doesn't want to do HVAC, but some people do. But there are a lot of other things that we can do within Beverly, I think. And I think it's an exciting new adventure to explore, something to grow.
Ms. Visnick? Oh, Ms. Coelho?
So speaking of like the vocational classes and stuff, old school Beverly High, when I went to Beverly High, we had like 5 or 6 shops. that we were able to take. And it was almost like a North Shore Tech thing where in our freshman year, we got to try them out. And actually in 8th grade, we got to go and explore it for a week to see before we even went to the high school. Maybe this goes more towards Mayor Cahill as well. Why can't we bring some of these shops that are in demand back to BHS? So we
Well,
don't
so
have to outsource as many kids.
Yeah, so that's sort of what I'm saying. I'm saying that as we build this, we're looking at what do we have available that we could expand, and what could it look like? And I believe there will be some opportunities that are better served at a school like Essex Tech that has the resources to kind of be able to provide a higher environment that looks like the workforce environment that these students would go into. Maybe that's one way to say it, but I believe that we have the ability to kind of look at and that's what our innovation pathways are doing, and that's what we're trying to set ourselves up to do. So exactly what opportunities are there, how can we do it, and what will it look like? So.
Exactly. So like when I went there, we had health tech and we had other things. Why can't we get our own electrical?
That's what I can't speak to individual pathways, but that's exactly what I'm saying, that we want to investigate that more. Why couldn't we do that?
I was just going to maybe pile on a little bit to what the mayor said around, I don't think it's so much that we have, maybe I'm not piling on, maybe I'm countering. I don't think that it's that we have children fleeing the district. As you know, our enrollment's going up, and a lot of our surrounding communities' enrollments are going down. But I do hear any given day critique somewhat like what Ms. Coelho just said. Why did we ever get rid of our patent wing, right? And so you know, if we rewind the clock and go to our own history class when we built the new high school, and the decisions that were made, and there's something to be said for an economy of scale. And what you just said, Dr. Trocheck, about, you know, if I can put a whole bunch of children together in one spot and have some expertise in that spot, then that's better for everybody involved. And so I think what has happened is that there's just been a pendulum swing, and now the demand is higher, and we need to figure it out. And I'm sure we'll continue to have the naysayers complain that we got rid of the patent wing when we built the new high school, but we are where we are. And so I appreciate the fact that you're continuing to explore, and we have this additional opportunity so that more children can jump in that lane. Because the ROI, you know, a lot of people say, oh, college isn't for everybody. I would assert to you that the average person who says that means it about somebody else's child. They expect their own child to go to college. But the fact of the matter is the ROI on a four-year college traditional education is difficult and becoming more difficult. And so the better we can serve our entire population, the better off we are. So thank you for this.
And I apologize, Mayor, I cut you off before you weren't finished. Did you want to say anything else? You sure?
You've got a lot on the agenda.
All right.
I just wanted to echo some of the things that Ms. Coelho said about, you know, students want to have the opportunity to sort of get to know what they don't know and have that opportunity to test the waters in different areas. I think one of the things that most parents and students have really appreciated about the way that Essex Tech goes about it is you don't go there just for electrical. You may have an idea that's where you're going to be, but they have the opportunity to try a lot of different things. And I do wonder if there's a way that we can do more survey type courses at our own high school to have students have the opportunity to see more what an EMT course might look like, or to, you know, take a shorter term art class if it's not something that they necessarily enjoyed in elementary and middle school. You know, maybe there's a budding graphic designer. I think I was thoroughly impressed with the Essex Tech graphics art department. I know that we have an excellent program at our school as well, but not all students are willing to commit a whole semester, a whole year to explore an opportunity like that. And I think that if we can think about ways to give students, I myself attended a regional high school that had a voc tech component, and I took culinary arts. I really enjoyed it. And then after taking it for a while, I realized I'm not going to pursue this. I need to get back to my studies. But in some other subjects that, maybe were more traditional, like, yeah, I'm going to go to college and probably do something with English, that kind of thing. But it was a wonderful opportunity. It also allowed me to work with all kinds of different students that I didn't see in my core classes. I think that that's something that we also need to explore with our high school, where people get kind of stuck with the same people. But anyway, any more on this topic? I'm confused a little bit about Peabody
Yeah,
prep.
so I don't have a slide for that, but I just want to also say, in addition to pursuing the expansion of the After Dark with Salem High School, and we have been working, actually, Josh Vidala, who's the superintendent in Peabody, and Steve Zreich and myself have spent a lot of time talking about how can we make sure we have other opportunities that are available. So we also are entering into, and it's not an open opportunity yet. Right now, it's sort of by need, but Peabody has Peabody Prep, which is a virtual academy, and it allows students to be enrolled in full-time remote learning. And so we have tested the waters this past spring with a couple of different students, identified primarily by need, whether it was home hospitalization, an opportunity and to utilize it whether for whatever reason a student was interested in that. And so we have an agreement with Peabody. Students remain enrolled in the Beverly Public Schools, but they attend the virtual academy through Peabody. And at a very small scale, we're just kind of looking and seeing how we can do that. But again, we're trying to explore many opportunities for students who have different needs and different, are looking for outcomes in different ways. And so I just put that on there as a nod. It's not, we don't have anything too official. It's not a open enrollment type thing, but we do have opportunities for students if there's a need and if we identify it that way. So,
Okay, thank you for that explanation. Any questions? Okay. Are we ready to move on to the committee reports? Okay. Ms. Visnick, if you could read out your Standing Committee on Finance and Facilities.
I believe that since I last reported out, Finance and Facilities has met twice, once on May 24th and earlier this evening on 6/14. On the 5/24 meeting, Ms. Sherburne reviewed her investigation into a financial mystery that involved some grant funding, and she put on her Inspector Clouseau hat and found a mistake that was committed well before she arrived in our district. And so she gave us an overview of that, and it kind of goes with city auditing and, balancing your checkbook to the penny. And so we thank her for her diligence in finding that problem that, like I said, happened well before she ever got here. We touched briefly on the topic of building rentals versus the rentals of fields, and we hope to revisit that topic when we have more time next session. We also discussed the fact that one of the tennis courts, the court furthest from the building, at Beverly High, will be lined for pickleball. Permitting for use of this pickleball court will be through the recreation department. And that kind of ties back into how do you rent a facility? Is it an indoor facility or an outdoor facility? This evening we had a compressed meeting before the CISL, and we basically just did our quote unquote just did our business of accepting gifts to schools. And we voted to approve some budget transfers. We had the head of B&G here as our guest, and he reviewed the upcoming summer work and the items that are out to bid, such as the Hannah Outdoor Classroom. And lastly, we were treated to pictures of the cafeteria renovation at North Beverly. The Standing Committee on Finance and Facilities recommends acceptance of the gifts to schools in your packet, totaling $8,290.87.
I'll make that motion to accept with gratitude.
Second.
Are there any questions? All those in favor? 5-0.
The Standing Committee on Finance and Facilities recommends acceptance of DESE grant number 347 from the Playful Learning Institute in the amount of $68,000 to benefit preschool at the Hannah.
This money will provide professional development for teachers, paraprofessionals, and school administration, as well as providing equipment for an outdoor learning space.
Looking for a motion?
That motion.
Thank you, Ms. Coelho.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson. Any questions? All those in favor? 5-0.
Lastly, the Standing Committee on Finance and Facilities brings forward the recommendation of acceptance of journal entry number 816. It was in your packet. It's a set of budget transfers.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson. Thank you, Ms. Coelho. Are there any questions on the transfers? All those in favor? 5-0.
The Standing Committee on Finance and Facilities is not scheduled to meet again until September.
Thank you so much, Ms. Bisnick. Okay, if Ms. Robinson would report out on curriculum instruction student life.
Thank you, President Abel. So yes, the Curriculum Instruction and Student Life Committee met this evening, and all of the Beverly principals presented cohesive, collaborative school improvement plans for the 2023-24 school year. The focus for all schools remains on on building community through delivering consistent curriculum, which is definitely benefiting all of our students. Elementary teachers just gave an overview of their plan, which is to build positive culture for students and families. They noted the strength of City Connects and how City Connects is expanding next year and will continue to expand. Strengthening core instruction, pushing more advanced students, and increasing the efforts of the green team. And that seems to be at the middle school and the high school as well. It's clear that the new curriculum has made a difference, and as the benefits have been obvious across all schools. Additionally, all our schools have reported, like I said, the City Connects has been very successful. Also, there's a lot here. We learned that Global Child, our foreign language offerings for elementary students, they had 248 students who learned 6 languages, which were ASL, French, German, Portuguese, Italian, and Spanish. So it was a good number. And there's going to be, I believe, 7 one-credit professional development courses that will be running this summer for all staff, not just teaching staff. And then, as has been mentioned a few times, we hope that everybody joins us tomorrow night at Beverly High School for the Showcase of Learning. And we also will not be meeting until September. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that report out. And I just remind people, BevCam did record that session if you wanted to hear the report out from the principals and to hear the school improvement plans. It's worth a watch. For the negotiating subcommittee, I'll report out that the negotiating subcommittee has met with AFSCME units a couple of times since our last meeting on May 15th and May 31st, and we have a planned session for this Friday, the 16th. We will also be going into a brief executive session to discuss some of the results of those negotiations and returning to open session to take some votes this evening. Policy Subcommittee, Ms. Visnick.
The Policy Subcommittee has not met since we last took our vote here to approve the totality of the policy manual and the batch of updates. I, as the current policy chair, need to sit down and meet with Queen Bergeron relative to scheduling the rotation and some of the prioritizations that have been discussed. So at the start of next session in September, we know what policies to distribute to which subcommittees in which prioritized order. So that's on me. I have that action item. I've been giving Donna a little bit of break, but she'll get me in her office and we'll do that work.
Okay. Before we lose some of our viewers, I just realized we should probably move agenda item 12 forward. If there's any communication from school committee members that they wish to bring forward, We'll bring that forward now before we entertain the motion for executive session. Ms. Wisnick.
I just remind everybody that Arts Fest is this weekend. It's always a cool event, and that it's not too late to honor a teacher. And even though it's called Honor a Teacher, it can be any administrator or para or any employee in the school district. And we heard from BevEd earlier this evening, and part of the way that they fund the plethora of awards that they give out to support additional programming in the city of Beverly is through donations. So you give some amount of money, and the teacher that you're honoring gets a certificate, and their boss gets to know that they were honored by a particular family. So it's not too late to do that. You want an end of the year present for for somebody who made a difference, a positive difference in the life of your child this year. Please consider doing that.
Thank you. Anyone else? Ms. Robinson.
Yep. I also wanted to, also on the 17th, that's Saturday, correct? The Be Healthy Beverly, the whole regional youth, they're having an event at McPherson Youth Center. It's like an old-fashioned elementary field day for older students. I know they're looking for adult volunteers, so if anybody wants to volunteer.
I hear there's going to be
do another field day.
Yeah, good food and good prizes and good
there's
fun.
Flip the Bird. There's a bunch of great places donating. So,
My understanding is that event was planned by children of that age group for children of that age group.
Yeah.
So hopefully it'll hit the target.
yeah, it's the regional board, and the kids plan the whole thing. So it's great.
Mayor Cahill.
Thanks. 2 announcements. One, anybody watching live can benefit from this. Tomorrow at 5 p.m. outside of City Hall, we're having our Juneteenth celebration and flag raising. So excited to welcome anyone else who wants to come down. A week from next Monday, so June 26th, there's a special city council meeting, I believe at 7 p.m., and we will be welcoming our consultants who helped us conduct our racial equity audit of city government. We got recommendations from the consultant last summer. It's taken some time, but we have worked with that same consultant for an additional scope of work. They'll be presenting to the City Council on Monday, June 26th, both the results of the audit, and also the next phase of implementation of efforts to really build much more on our diversity, inclusion, equity, and belonging efforts as a community.
Thank you.
Hope people can join for that as well.
Thanks. Is that it? Okay. Thank you so much. The chair now makes the motion to vote to meet in executive session pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, purposes number 7 and 3, and to return to open session. Purpose number 7 is to review and approve the minutes from the negotiating subcommittee meeting, sorry, it should say executive session, I don't have the corrected version here, of April 26, 2023. And purpose 3 is to discuss the strategy with respect to and in preparation for collective bargaining with the AFSME unit, because an open discussion may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the committee. I'll need a second. Thank you, Ms. Visnick. And we do need to have a roll call vote for this. Mayor Cahill,
Yes.
Kimberly Coelho,
Yes.
Karen Robinson.
Yes.
Lorinda Visnick.
Yes.
And Rachel Abel. The others are absent, so it's 5-0. Thank you, BevCam, for going on a little recess while we have our discussion. Thanks. Yep, we're ready.
Do you want me to send this to you?
Okay, thank you so much for allowing us that opportunity to take our executive session. Welcome back to the Beverly School Committee, regular school committee of the 14th of June, 2023. The time is 9:38 p.m. What the school committee has before it tonight are two memorandums of agreement with our AFSCME units. These memorandums of agreement are to make amendments to our collective bargaining agreements. The first one we will entertain this evening is between the Beverly School Committee and the cafeteria. It's dated April 2023. It was included in the packet and will be available after our vote to the public. I'm looking for a motion to approve this memorandum of agreement.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Visnick.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson. Is there any discussion from the committee? Okay. Just like to express our gratitude to our AFSCME units. I will do a roll call vote on this if that's all right. Mayor Cahill?
Yes.
Kimberly Coelho?
Yes.
Karen Robinson?
Yes.
Ms. Visnick?
Yes.
And Rachel Abel, yes. By a vote of 5-0 this evening, with 2 members being absent, the memorandum of agreement has been agreed to. The next memorandum of agreement is between the Beverly Schools and our Administrative Assistance Unit, Local 2894. This was a memorandum of agreement of May 2023. I'm looking for a motion to approve this memorandum of agreement.
So moved.
I heard Mayor Cahill and Ms. Visnick as a second. Are there any questions or concerns about this memorandum of agreement? Again, expressing my appreciation to the bargaining team and to the entire union. I will now do a roll call vote. Mayor Cahill?
Yes.
Ms. Coelho?
Yes.
Ms. Robinson?
Yes.
Ms. Visnick?
Yes.
And Ms. Abel, yes. 5-0 with 2 members being absent. We don't have any other business before us this evening, so I will now entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Visnick.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Coelho. It's not debatable, so all those in favor? 5-0, we are adjourned at 9:40. Thank you, BevCam, and thank you everyone at home.